Well, welcome to another premiere. And this is kind of a post-premiere almost, because I've already introduced this machine to you. Belongs to Paula Noel out of the great state of Florida. And to acquire this machine, she had to do something very special, and that is, with this very dramatic music, she had to make a $400 donation to our fundraiser that we did almost a year ago, not quite, for the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana, where through the Cow Country family, we raised almost $12,000 in a little bit over 10 days. And Paula was one of those heroes for history. What it is, if you're just hearing about this for the first time and you're going, what? Through my business, I love to rally our Cow Country VSM friends around causes. And our very first fundraiser that we ever did was to support a history museum down in South Bend, Indiana. And the reason for centering on that particular history museum is it's right in the center of Indiana. And my father was originally from Indiana. And so to honor his memory, and also Roz's dad as well was from the Indiana area, was a Hoosier. So those two dads, we kind of built that campaign around raising money to help this history museum. During the pandemic, over 30% of the museums across the U.S. closed their doors permanently for lack of having patrons, for lack of funding. And I didn't want to see that happen to this museum right down in the neck of the woods where my father called home as a Hoosier. So we stepped into that space, and through all of you, many of you that are a part of this premiere right now, like Paula, rallied around that cause, and in a little bit over 10 days, raised almost $12,000. Count them! $12,000! That's insane! We are from Wisconsin, here in Cow Country, from the little community of Oconto, Wisconsin, and a lot of people were skeptical. There were a lot of skeptics out there that said, yeah, right. This is his first attempt through his business to try to do a fundraiser. It's going to fall flat on its face. Well, to all of you that were skeptics, because the Cow Country family rallies together, stands together, and boy, oh boy, do we put the proof in the pudding. Yeah, we did. Paula was one of those heroes. So this machine is one of the many machines that I donated for that cause. She and others stepped into the Slant-O-Matic circle and said, I want that machine. Each one of them, and then I've got to revisit my thoughts here. Each one of that, Emma and Paula and Roz, and who else? Sonny, hello. All four of those folks stepped in and right away called the History Museum and said, I want that Slant-O-Matic that Scott donated, so I'm going to donate to get it. Yeah, so that's a little bit, I'm all over the place, I know, but that's a little bit of a thumbnail sketch of what happens through the power of the Cow Country family. This business that I established almost 20 years ago. And now we're starting to take that business and plug it into causes. We did the same thing for the local Humane Society here in Oconto, Wisconsin. More skeptics wondering, yeah, right. People all over Facebook when their birthday comes up, just like one of my friends out at Joanne Fabrics out in Marinette, Wisconsin. When I mentioned that we were going to be doing a fundraiser, she kind of gave me a little bit of a friendly, skeptical glance. And she said, you know what? I've tried that every year when my birthday comes up. And I'm a local lady. I've got a local friend network. And you know what? I generally raise about $50. Only $50 to help out the critters at the Oconto Area Humane Society is what she said. But you know what? I know the strength of the Cow Country family. I know the strength. And I just looked her dead in the eye and I said, you know what? I'm really sorry that they didn't rally around your cause when you presented it. But you know what? I believe in the cow country family. And we did a fundraiser for a history museum down in South Bend, Indiana. We raised almost $12,000. We're setting a goal of $5,000 for the Oconto Area Humane Society. And I know we're going to nail it or do better. And she extended her hand in friendship and she said, gosh, I sure hope you do. Gosh, I hope you do. Well, guess what? Our goal for the Oconto Area Humane Society through the cow country family, through this business, was $5,000. $5,000, that's a lot of money. Did we nail it? Yeah, we ended up hitting $6,400, $1,400 above our goal. So you know what? Never doubt what a small army of dedicated individuals can accomplish, especially when they're rallying around a cause that I present to them and say, folks, I believe in this. You should believe in it. So all of that blah, blah, blahing is bringing us back to this 401A. All the way back to that fundraiser we did for the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana. Paula was one of those believers. Paula was one of those individuals that rallied around the cause. And today we can celebrate this 401A that she made a donation of $400 for. Now let me just tell you that one of my 401As that's fully restored is going to sell for more than $400. But you know what? That's okay. Those dollars made a huge difference to the mission of the History Museum. And if you never saw that exit premiere where I was down in Kopschaholm, an amazing 30-plus room mansion in South Bend, Indiana. Oh my God, you got to watch it. You got to watch it so you can meet all of the lives in that family down there at the History Museum that the Heroes for History impacted. It was absolutely crazy. What a beautiful place that is. And what an honor it was to celebrate the closing out of that fundraiser where we almost hit $12,000 with our little army through the cow country family. You got to watch it. Folks, you got to watch it if you didn't see it. Oh my gosh. There's a playlist. Look for the playlist on this channel. You'll see it. Yeah. All right. I could blah, blah, blah all day long, you know. So all of the stitching that you saw at the opening of this right over here is stitching that we've already done on Paula's 401A. We could end it right there. I mean, for goodness sakes, that's protected full grain leather. And look at the caliber and the quality of that stitching. It is absolutely bang on. Absolutely bang on. But I promised Paula that I was going to take it a little bit further, okay? But the first thing we got to do, we got to get this machine set up to sew. And I intentionally left it like this, not prepared, so I can show you how to set it up if you've got a 401A or if you acquire a 401A. And if you don't know anything about anything, let me just come out in this shot a little bit. The 401A is part of the Slant-O-Matic family, and it is one of the favorite machines for me out of that Slant-O-Matic family. Do any of you know when the 401A was first introduced? Does anyone know? Type it in the chat. What year did the first 401A come on the scene? And where was it made? That's even better. Give me a two-part answer. And if you reach out to me after this premiere, I'll send you something special. What was the first year of the 401A? Where was it made? Now, I'm not going to give away any answers here, but I will tell you that Paula's was made in 1957. And it was not the very first series of 401As. Okay, I gave you a little bit there. I gave you a little bit, but that's okay. So again, Paula, thank you for that donation. I'm going to take this off so folks can see the beauty of your amazing 401A from 1957. And while you're guessing those answers, or because you're incredibly smart students, you're plugging down and writing down the answers right away because you're just that doggone smart. Then I'll give you the answer afterwards. If it helps you at all, I'll tell you that this machine was not made in Elizabethport, New Jersey. And just as a general knowledge share, I'll tell you that the 401A was also not technically the first slant-o-matic to come on the scene. It was one of the first, but the big sister to the featherweight, the 301 and the 301A were the first ones on the scene. And a long time ago, I started referring to the 301 series as the big sister to the featherweight, and now everybody around the world is saying that. We've got a little bit of pull, a little bit of power in the VSM space, folks, and you're part of that. So the 401A first came on the scene in 1956. So Paula's machine came on the scene just a little bit after this machine was introduced in 1956. The following year in 1957, and then they made this machine until 1961. It was a very popular machine and incredibly progressive because not only can you add cams to this machine on top, but it has a ton of built-in cams, cam-generated stitches, I should say, as well. And we generated a number of those on that protected full grain leather right there at the bottom of this shot. Now, I've got to give the information to you so you've got it, so you have it when you go into those Facebook groups where sometimes there's a lot of misinformation being passed around. I mentioned the big sister to the featherweight, right? The 301, 301A. The 301 came on the scene in 1952. Guess what? It ended in 1952. It was 1 year. But they only made 185,750 of those machines. So if you ever get a hold of a 301, the big sister to the featherweight, it's a rare machine. It's more rare than the featherweight that it represents as the big sister. And then a little bit later, a year later in 1953, came the 301A, made in Anderson, South Carolina, just like Paula's 401A. That's what the A stands for, is Anderson, South Carolina. Well, they made the 301A until 1957, the same year that Paula's machine came on the scene. The 301A ended the same year that Paula's 401A was born. Yeah, it was. Now, the 301A is a little bit less rare than the 301. They made 514,250 of those. So it's a little bit less rare than the 301, but still more rare than the featherweight that it serves as the big sister of. So I've said it before in other premieres, and I don't want to get way off track because I'm not presenting a 301 or a 301A, but they are part of the slant-o-matic family. They're really the inception of the slant-o-matic family, the 301s, the 301A. So I want you to understand the significance of this very rare family of slant-o-matics. It started with the 301, then the 301A, and then immediately after that came the 401A in 1956. I hope you find that liberating to know that information. So when you step out, whether it's on Facebook or any other venue, you can be equipped with the facts of the slant-o-matic family and have that knowledge. Knowledge is power, folks. And I want, through this classroom, to make all of you power VSM spokesperson, to make you VSM ambassadors, so you can step out there and know what to say when you're challenged out there. You're going to be challenged because there's a lot of a lot of information being spread around that's not spot on, okay? All right, enough of that. Enough of that. I'm done ranting. All right, let's get this machine set up to sew. And what we'll do first is we will get the bobbin in, because that's the easiest thing to do. Let me zoom all the way down there. So a nice convenient drop-in bobbin. It's kind of disappointing to me. I'm just going to tell you guys, it's kind of disappointing when they made the 401A, because the 401A was the Cadillac of the Slant-O-Matic series, in my opinion. The 503A is amazing. The 500A is amazing. The 404 is amazing. The 403 is amazing. The 301 and the 301A are amazing. But the 401A really is kind of a cool set-aside machine because of all those built-in cams. It just is. It really is. And yes, the 501A has some of that good stuff as well, but the 401A really is at the top of the food chain within the Slant-O-Matic family when it comes to the built-in stitch functions that it can deliver. It's crazy. All right, back on track, Scott. Back on track. All right, so I'm going to go over to the machine, and I'm going to show you straight away that when you drop this in, you want to have the thread coming over the top. Just like that. You see that? Where are you? So when we drop it in, the thread is over the top. And I'm going to come even closer in now. Because if you don't get this step right, your top stitch is not going to look so great. All right, let's lock it in right there. Almost locked in. So close. Okay. So you see this little notch right there? That tiny little notch that I'm pointing at? That's what you need to draw the thread through and under, so that that thread is underneath that tension band that's part of this assembly down in the raceway. If you don't do that, you're not going to have any tension. Hold on just a second. It takes a little bit sometimes to get it just in that groove, just in that sweet spot. There we go. So again, you kind of enter in at this point right there, where I'm pointing, draw it through, and hold the bobbin a little bit to get that nice and well set into that tension band area, okay? And then just drop your thread right there. Because eventually what we're going to do once we get the machine threaded is we're going to pick up that thread and pull it up through the throat plate, okay? Let me change this shot now. Let's get this machine threaded up. Oh, we've got the shot. Why don't I talk about it? As we're looking at those two screws, right here, that one and that one. The one on the right is your set screw that holds that band in place. You just want to make sure that that is tightened all the way. The one on the left, the larger of the two, is going to be for adjusting the bobbin tension down in that it's basically the bobbin case. It just looks a little bit different, doesn't it? So if you turn that big screw clockwise, you'll increase the bobbin pull. If you turn it to the left, you'll decrease it. This controls your top stitch. So if your top stitch looks too loose, you have one of two choices. You can either turn that big screw to the right, clockwise, or you can back off your upper tension if you're able to do that. And in either case, you'll get a nice balanced stitch, because this is going to pull down to define the top stitch. That upper tension unit, this right here, this upper tension unit is going to be pulling up to define that lock stitch. So it's a tug of war. This one is tugging down, this one is tugging up, This one is tugging down, this one is tugging up, and eventually they meet in the middle, right about there. And they're happy and they're friends and they're going, I love you, no, I love you. And then all of a sudden you've got the perfect or near perfect stitch. Yeah, you do. All right, enough of that. All right, so on top here, you can see we have 2 spool pins. And that's because this machine is capable of dual needle sewing. But for our setup, we're going to be focusing on this spool pin to the left, right there by our friend. Hello. That was her, not me. I can't hit notes like that. Nope, can't. Wish I could. All right. So I'm going to get this thread on top of there. We're going to be using this trilobal embroidery thread. I really love this stuff. You guys know that. We're going to be using that to do our sew-offs today. And we had done the same thing on the other pre-premiere that I just did for Paula's machine. Grabbing one of these cloths so I have something to wipe off the machine with as we go through this. Okay, so coming off the top, I'm going to kind of zoom out a little bit because I'm too tight on this right now. Let's come right about over to there. That's perfect. So coming off the top, first place we're going to thread is through this thread guide right here. You simply grab the thread like this and you draw it underneath so it snaps into place. And I'll kind of zoom in right now so you can see that. So we just came underneath that little tab and we just drew it right through. Now we're going to be coming down to the tension discs, and whenever you're threading an upper tension, always make sure that that presser foot lever in the back is in the up position, because otherwise there's going to be pressure on those discs and you're not going to be able to draw that thread all the way through, and that's a problem. So I'm going to grab this thread, we're going to come through those discs, and you got a couple of choices, because on the 401A you basically have 3 tension discs. Because of the dual needle sewing capacity, the twin needle sewing capacity, so you can go through either set of them. It doesn't really matter. And make sure that that thread goes behind this thread guide right here. I think you can see that. All right, and what I usually do is I put my finger on the thread and I make sure I draw it really deep into those tension discs. Okay? Now for a second, I'm going to let go of that because I want to bring the camera over and show you this spring on the other side, the take-up spring. This is such an integral part of the setup, and if you don't get it right, you're going to have trouble. Hold on a second. So you can see we got our thread down here right now, right? We've got it between the discs. Right there. Got the thread in my little fingers. So what I'm going to do now is, and I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm holding the camera with one hand and I'm holding the thread with the other. I'm going to cheat by just temporarily setting the camera down. See if I can, is that aiming in the right direction? Nope, it's not high enough. Hold on a second. This is a fun song. All right, I hope that stays. I hope it stays. So I'm going to grab this thread, I'm going to bring it around, and right up here I'm going to put my finger to hold that thread in place, because what I have to do is I have to draw this spring up and get the thread over that little notch, okay? And there you go. You can we'll look a little bit closer now so you can see exactly what we did. Okay? That's the only tricky part a little bit. It's kind of a little bit tricky. So now we're going to take this thread and we're going to bring it behind this thread guide, like so. Okay? And now we're going to go up to the take-up arm. But from this point, I'm going to put the camera back on the tripod because I only have 2 hands. Who knew? All right, hold on. I noticed on the internet they really don't show the threading close up like this, so I'm trying to do it the right way so you folks are set up for success. There's nothing left to question, you know what I mean? That's really irritating when you get on some of those channels and you go, what did they do? What? What? Hey, Mr. Bean. Here, Obermeister. Okay. So now we're taking the thread up to the take-up arm. And you're going to be threading it, obviously, and maybe I shouldn't say obviously, from right to left, okay? You can notice now, yeah, you can kind of see it, not really. You can see now, if I pull on this, it's going to draw that take-up spring up and down, just like it will when it's sewing. Unless you let go of it, then it won't. All right, so just kind of draw that thread through. I'm going to rotate the machine just a little bit towards the camera. Get a nice frontal shot. Oh, you couldn't see that at all. I had it aimed too high. Let's try that again. I wanted to show this to you. So what I was trying to show you is at this point when we have it threaded through the take-up arm, if I kind of hold that thread up here, you'll see that take-up spring going up and down, just like it will in the sewing process. See that? Now when it comes to the take-up spring, if you're adventurous enough to disassemble the entire upper tension like I did on Paula's so that it can be deep cleaned and adjusted and set up properly, you need to know that when you set it up, you've got to have the right amount of return tension on this take-up spring. It should only be about 6 ounces, which is 2 times the number of ounces that the pressure down in the bobbin case is on this machine. 3 ounces down below, 6 ounces up above. And the significance of that, if you have this spring return too heavy, it's going to cause thread breaking with certain threads. So just be aware of that. All right, so we have a thread guide right here. I think you can see that in the shot. Just make sure. I don't want to leave anything to chance. Now let's angle this down a little bit now. Okay, so I'm going to come through from the take-up arm. I'm going to come through this thread guide now. You just kind of draw it in from the edge, kind of snap it into place. Now we have another thread guide right here. I'm going to zoom in on this. We've got this threaded all the way to here right now. Come all the way down now, because this is where it gets a little bit interesting. A little bit. And then once we get it completely threaded, I'll go over this again just to show you. So we're going to go through this thread point now. You kind of bring it underneath and then back forward. And now we're tucked right behind that. We have another thread guide right here. Kind of bring the thread in from the left side to the right. Now this is the tricky one that a lot of people miss. We've got a thread point right here, this little slash adjacent to the needle bar where I'm touching it right there. We've got to go through that to the back and then drop it down. I'll show you what that looks like. We'll come in even closer than we are right now. Perfect. Love it. I want you guys to see everything. I don't want anything left to chance. So I'm going to take that thread now. We're already through that point. Now I'm going to draw it right through. See how I'm starting to come through there? See how I just came back out? Kind of draw it through and down. Notice how that thread is orientated now. We went through that little slat, brought it to the back, and then brought it down. And now it's coming through this thread guide perfectly. And then last but not least, we're going to be threading this needle from front to back. And I always drop the presser foot just temporarily when I get to this stage because it's a little bit easier. See how that thing is curved? I'm going to cut it because right now it's like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Don't make me do it. All right, so let's thread it now from front. Almost there. Front to back. And then draw your thread between the presser foot attachment all the way to the rear. Because now we're going to have to pull the thread up from the bobbin. The bobbin area. You got to pull that up now. You rotate the balance wheel towards you. So you can see here we threaded front to back. And then we just brought the thread to the rear. Okay? So now we're gonna rotate the balance wheel towards us, which I'm not going to show because I want you to see what happens when we do that. We're going to look right about here. That's perfect. So again, hold on to the thread from the top. Rotate that balance wheel. Hopefully I'm not blocking everything. Rotate that balance wheel. You'll see the needle coming on the downstroke. Keep tension on that thread from the top. And as you do, you'll notice that it grabs that other thread and then pulls it up through the throat plate. See that? See what's happening here right now? Just rotate a little bit further. And now we've gotten our loop underneath the presser foot. We just have to sweep it out. Let me kind of widen this shot a little bit. Oh, you can see that. You can see that. Never mind. You can see that. All right. And some people sweep it forward. I like to sweep it back because that's the direction that it's going to go anyway, right? So now we have both of our threads to the rear. Make sure that they're not tangled or twisted in any way. Make sure that they're both lined up and flowing back nicely. And now we just close our little door and we're all set up to sew. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the machine back and we're going to go over the entire threading real quick just so you have it as an overview, as a review, and you're confident in what to do. Turn our light on as well. All right, so off the tripod one more time because I want you to be able to see this up close, up close. All right, so 401A, 2 spool pins, take the left one, come through this thread guide right here. Then we're going to drop down. And again, your presser foot is in the up position when you're doing this. Come kind of behind that thread guide right there. Between the tension discs, again, you'll have three discs, so you could be where I am right now, or you could be between the two just forward of that. It doesn't matter. Okay? And that's really the secret of twin needle sewing, is one of the threads is going to go where mine is right now. The other thread, if you're doing twin needle sewing, will be between the two discs to the front. Make sense? Yeah. Now we kind of come around the bottom of that. We came through that take-up spring. We kind of drew that take-up spring up so that the thread would be seated in that little notch right there. See that? Then we came up here and we went behind that thread guide, up to the take-up arm, all the way back down through this thread guide, through that thread guide right there, and then through that thread guide from left to right. We kind of drew it in that little space. And then remember, we went through this little notch right there brought the thread to the back and down so that we've got the thread coming all the way flowing through beautifully. And then finally threaded the needle from front to back. Make sense? Yeah. And again, the bobbin, we put it in with the thread coming over the top. So as that bobbin is turning, it's going to be turning which way? Type in the chat real quick which way that bobbin's going to be turning. Will it be rotating clockwise or counterclockwise? And then I'll pull the thread to reveal the answer. To reveal the answer! Quickly type, clockwise or counterclockwise? All right, you had enough to type. You had enough time to type. You're not that slow. Counterclockwise. See it? See it? Yeah. Counterclockwise. Cool, huh? Yeah. All right. Let me close the door again. And again, a really cool feature on the Slant-O-Matic series machines is this throat plate raiser, where on most machines you're going to have a knob or a lever that will allow you to drop the feed dogs. Not on this model. On this model, if you want the if you want to do free motion quilting or free hand embroidery and you don't want those feed dogs digging in, then you just push this lever to the center, and then all of a sudden that's going to be coming up so that it's not making contact with the feed dogs anymore. See what happened? Now those feed dogs are below that throat plate, and the result is you can do freehand motion quilting or anything you want, and the feed dogs will not be pushing that material. Or you can push it all the way up, and what that allows you to do is then you can rotate this plate out of the way, and you can clean out that area there with all the lint and everything to keep it nice and tidy, okay? And then you just rotate this back, and it locks back down into place again. So when you're sewing, you'll always have it in the down position. Down position meaning the throat plate is down and locked in place, so those feed dogs are fully engaged. Okay? Yeah. Ha-ha! Don't you love it? And again, just for review, this is going to be your stitch length. When you're all the way down at the largest stitch, you're going to be getting 6 stitches per inch. And you can screw this in, and that way it'll be locked in there so it's not going to be moving. Or you can screw it counterclockwise, and then you can move it up and down. This is the fine range, which is you're going to be right around 30 stitches per inch in that range all the way to the top. And then if you want to sew in reverse, go all the way to the top, okay? Yeah. This is a cool song. Kind of getting my groove on. Yeah. Hey! Hoo! I feel like I'm at a Greek wedding or something. This could be Serbian too, though. I have no idea. The music always ends too quick, doesn't it? What's up with that? So this control right here, it's also known as the red lever, and they refer to it several times on this little chart on the inside of this panel, and we'll take a look at that real quick. But it's going to give you control over stitch width. Okay? It also, when you're wanting to move it all the way to the left, you can also adjust the needle position. So right now I pushed it all the way to the left. You can see we have a left needle position now. I can move it back center. I can move it all the way to the right, and then all of a sudden I have a right needle position now for purposes of sewing, if you want to offset it like that. Yeah. Well, for most purposes, we're going to be on 3, which is center on the stitch width. Then we've got these 2 controls. And, initially when you look at this machine, it's like you're in the cockpit of a 747. You're like, oh my goodness gravy, I do not want to take this puppy on. It's way too complicated. But nothing could be further from the truth. This brown knob is going to control the settings for this side, these letters. Now, when you're doing a normal straight stitch, you're going to have this one set on A, you're going to have this one set all the way down on K, okay? And then we'll be doing a straight stitch. Any other variation between these 2 is going to generate one of the built-in cam-generated stitches. Unless you're all the way up on special, and that's where you'll set it when you're going to be using cams that go into here, that you would insert, okay? So you push this one in, and then you can change this side. You grab the white one and you pull it out, and then you can adjust this side. And we'll be doing a little bit of that today during the premiere. Although, as you saw in the sew-offs, we've already done a ton of that already. Aren't those gorgeous? And again, on the protected full grain leather, it's a little bit harder to see the stitches, especially when I did the live stream, because that camera doesn't focus quite as well as this one does. Gorgeous stitching. And again, look at it from the side. That's about 4 ounces of protected full grain leather. And we buzzed through it, laying down page 34 stitching, both a straight stitch and then everything in between, all the different flavors that all of you picked out during that live stream. That's the cool thing about live streams, isn't it? You can jump in and you can participate actively right as it's happening. Very cool. All right, let's throw that to the back, because that's already obviously a slam dunk success. So I was going to lift up that cover real quick and show you. I kind of rotate that cover back. All of a sudden you can get an idea of what the capacity of this machine is. And all of this, the primary patterns on that top right row, the combination patterns on the very bottom there, these are all stitches that are built into the machine through the cam stack. They're all built in. Plus it gives you pointers on twin needle sewing. You can see on the left over there, as far as where to set that red lever, this red lever right there. So in most instances, if you're doing the primary patterns, if you're doing the combination patterns, you're going to be able to leave that red lever alone. You're going to be able to leave it right on 3 where you see it right now. But in certain instances, you have some discretion. Like on the primary patterns, technically you can move the red lever to 3 or 2. You can see that right over there where they say that. Okay? But for our purposes, we're just going to leave it on 3 and just simplify it a little bit. But if you have extra cams, you can slide them on right there. And then again, you're going to set this boundary over here on special. All right. See if I can do this one-handed. One-handed, yes, yes, yes. All right, we're all set. Okay, so we've done enough blah, blah, blahing. Oh, the only other thing I didn't show you is bobbin winding, okay? You're going to put your spool of thread right over here, come through this tensioner straight up to here, put your bobbin on there, put your bobbin right there, and you notice a lot of people miss it, but there's a lubrication point right there so that this is really easy to turn and it doesn't stress the motor. So once, I would say every about 12 to 15 hours of sewing, if you've done a lot of bobbin winding, you can put a drop of oil in there. Okay? If you haven't done a lot of bobbin winding, then don't worry about it. But when you put your hand on there, it should just turn very, very easily. Yeah. It's kind of fun too. And then what you do is once you have your bobbin on there, you come up through this little tensioner, you got your bobbin on, you wind a couple times with the thread on there, you rotate this up to the balance wheel so it has contact, disengage your clutch by rotating this towards you, and then you start winding a bobbin. Yeah. And if you get to a point where you're winding your bobbin and it's just not winding full enough, it's probably a matter of needing to adjust this. When you adjust this, when you loosen that little screw and you drop this down, you're not going to be able to fill that bobbin as full. If you loosen this and you push this up to its maximum, you're going to be able to fill that bobbin much more full. Is that right? Much fuller. You're going to be able to max that puppy out, baby, if you push this so it's all the way at the top of its range of motion. So down, less full, loosen the screw, push this up, and then obviously tighten the screw again. Then you're going to be able to fill that bobbin much more fully. Yeah. And obviously when you're maintaining a 401A like this, there's 2 bolts on top, one there, one over there. This whole lid comes off, and then there's all kinds of lubrication points. Also, there's all kinds of lubrication points on the bottom of the machine as well, and in the faceplate. And the faceplate again on this machine is super cool because it has a built-in threading diagram, and it also shows you how to orientate the bobbin as well when you drop it in. So that is a wonderful resource to have, so you don't have to go to the owner's manual and look for that. And if I didn't mention, this is an aluminum cast machine, which means it's ridiculously light. In fact, the average Slant-O-Matic machine, whether it's Sonny's 404 or Emma's 503A or Roz's 403A or Paula's 401A, you're only going to be about 5 to 6 pounds heavier than a featherweight. Let me say that again because it's almost hard to believe. The average Slant-O-Matic machine, the 401A is going to be a little bit heavier because of all of the cam engineering up top. But the average Slant-O-Matic machine is only going to be about 5 to 6 pounds heavier than a Singer Featherweight 221. I know it's amazing, but that's just a fact. The only way they could have made this machine or any of the other Slant-O-Matics even lighter is to have made them out of what? What could they have made them out of? And I've talked about this recently when we presented the free Westinghouse machines that were made in Illinois. Remember that? What material did they use? What type of metal did they use on those free Westinghouse machines? And I joked about, why didn't they use that on the featherweight? And then the featherweight, instead of weighing 11 pounds, would have only weighed about 8 pounds, about the same weight as a gallon of milk, for goodness sakes. Yeah, that would have been really cool. What'd you do? What were you thinking, Isaac? Huh? You were too busy being a womanizer with all of your wives instead of being a good boy and giving us that advantage of even a lighter featherweight machine. Yeah, they could have used magnesium, right? Magnesium is 33% lighter than aluminum. And almost, I think it's like 72 or 73% lighter than steel. So magnesium is really the material choice for sewing machines. And only a certain select number of manufacturers actually did that within some of the rotary series and also within some of the free Westinghouse series. So, yeah, sometimes you think about things afterwards and you go, dag nabbit, I could have done that, but I didn't. Well, we all learn, don't we? Hopefully. So let's try a little bit of sewing on this machine. What do you think? Should we give that a go? Yeah, let's give it a go. Yeah. Oh, I better plug the camera back in too before the camera goes dead. And you're like, boy, why did the premiere end abruptly? I didn't know. Scott probably goofed up. All right. Well, I did not try this already, but we're going to try it anyway. I'm going to try some of this stretchy denim. This is heavy grade denim, but it's some of that denim where they built a stretch factor to it, kind of like a stretch jean. See that? It's almost like playing an accordion. Kind of like that bubblegum material that we sew periodically. As a matter of fact, I cut some to try to sew it on this Slant-O-Matic, so we'll give that a go. Now with this stretchy denim, it's got some sort of a vinyl built into it. We're going to try to do a total of 6 layers of it. So I'm going to fold this once, we're up to 4 layers, and then I'm going to go ahead and fold it again, and we're all the way up to 6 layers of this denim. You can kind of see that from the side. Okay? So we're going to go down this with a straight stitch. And the Slant-O-Matics, as a rule, do have very good pressure for clearance. You can see we have 6 layers of this stretchy, heavy grade denim underneath there, and there's still wiggle room. We could even go thicker if we wanted. So I'm just going to buzz down and lay down a layer of straight stitching, and then we'll move on to our next sew off. I'm also going to show you some of the progress shots as well on Facebook. Okay? And what I'm doing off camera real quick is I'm adjusting the presser foot pressure. I'm increasing it. Whenever you're sewing heavier layers or multiple layers, you want to go to the top of your 401A to this little knob right here, and you want to turn it clockwise. 2 or 3 turns, if you're going to be going heavier gray, it'll create more pressure with the presser foot against the material, which means it's being pushed heavier into the feed dogs, and you get more even stitches, and you don't get a compressed stitch as often because that feed factor is optimized. Make sense? Conversely, if you're sewing something super lightweight like a silk or a satin or maybe a real thin layer of 100% cotton, you want to be turning that presser foot knob on top counterclockwise to decrease the presser foot pressure so that you don't get bunching up and all kinds of crazy stuff happening with that real thin material getting basically beaten up by the feed dogs and the presser foot attachment, okay? So you got to adjust up or down depending on the material you're working with and the number of layers that you're trying to feed through that machine. Set yourself up for success. Yeah. Also, when you're launching to set yourself up for success, I'm rotating the balance wheel right now to get that take-up arm all the way to the highest position. And the take-up arm is going to be this part that we threaded through right up here. So always when you're going to be launching, make sure that that's at the highest position so that if I just barely wiggle the balance wheel, you're going to see that that take-up lever is getting ready to go on the downstroke. See that? I'm just barely bringing it like 1 or 2 millimeters forward, and you can see that that take-up arm is getting ready to go down on the down sweep with that needle bar. That's how you want to launch every single time, because it's going to give you the greatest momentum launch without any binding or drag. See again that threading point? A lot of people miss that last threading point right there. Don't miss it. Don't miss it! Brrr. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this. I almost feel like I'm a little bit short. Am I a little bit short on that angle? Let's go up. Oh, I went the wrong way. Let's go up just a hair. There we go. Okay, so 6 layers of this stretchy version of heavy grade denim. To see how Paula's machine does in managing this. It's not an easy sew off, folks. Number one, we have 6 layers of denim, but we have that vinyl factor in this stuff as well. That vinyl that's in there that's making it really, really stretchy. All right, so I'm gonna hit the gas. I might give it a little bit of a hand start just to give it every advantage to launch steadily into this. Let's see what happens. I didn't do so well with that. I didn't do so well at all. We got some beautiful stitching, but boy, that did not feed well at all. I'm going to try that again. See what it did is it kind of bunched up right there? We've got beautiful stitching. I could show that to you straight away. But I'm going to pull it apart real quick and try that one more time to see if I can be a little bit better at feeding it. You know what? That extra increase of presser foot pressure in this instance, because of the stretch factor of this material, that may have been a mistake. But I can show you right now the stitching we got. This is our top stitch. Wait, let me turn my camera screen around. The stitch quality we got is absolutely bang on. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. And again, we're going through 6 layers of this stuff. So even though I increase the presser foot pressure, there's our lock stitch right here, equally gorgeous. Even though I increase the presser foot pressure, we're going to be getting a little bit of a compression of that stitch because of the vinyl factor that's in this denim. But I'm gonna pull it apart real quick and redo that again. See if I can back off that presser foot pressure a little bit. So this is really a good lesson, isn't it? And that's the beauty of our classroom, is we can miss the mark in doing something, but we learn something through doing it. Because of the vinyl factor, I may have increased that presser foot pressure a little bit too high. So I'm backing it off right now about 1.5 to 2 turns. Then I'm going to pull this apart. We're going to give it a try again. See if we get a little bit better feed than we did the first time. I'm okay if something doesn't turn out exactly like we want it, if we learn something from it, right? Ooh, this is a fun song. Put your hands up. Ha ha! Reggie! Go, baby, go! Oh man, do we have fun or what? All right, let's try this again. So I've got 4 layers right now. I'm going to go ahead and fold it one more time, get us all the way up to 6 layers. Just double checking. 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I didn't have 6 layers the first time. I folded a little bit differently, because that's what 6 layers looks like. I'm going to double check. Or is that 8? 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 8. Oh my goodness gravy. All right, let's try that again. We don't want 8 layers. Not quite 8 layers. All right, there's 4. 8 layers would be interesting though, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, there's 4 layers. Or 6 layers rather, excuse me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 layers of denim. So let's try this again. See if we get a little bit better outcome than the first time as far as the feed factor. All right, take up arm at the highest position. Let's launch into this again and see if we can get a little bit better flow of that material, better feed of that material without it trying to bunch up like it did the first time. All right, here we go. Yeah, that worked out a lot nicer than it did the first time, didn't it? That worked out a lot nicer. Yeah. So I tried to instruct you and give you tips on the presser foot pressure. The final tip we get is that, yeah, you generally increase the presser foot pressure if you have thicker material or certain types of material, but sometimes when you have that dynamic of a stretchy material built into a staple material like denim, you might have to tweak that presser foot pressure a little bit more. You might have to do it. Yeah, it's a good looking stitch, very good looking stitch. A little bit compressed, but I'm not surprised considering the vinyl factor that's in it. So I'm going to carefully lift Paula's machine, kind of move it back a little bit temporarily. I'm going to get out her very cool stitch display thing that she sent to me for Christmas. If you didn't see it, before I put the material up there, I'll zoom in on that so you can see it. You can see a little bit of it right now. No, I don't know the names of these people. I don't know. Live, create, tell the story. Go where your heart takes you. I think there's more of them. I missed a couple. Dagnabbit. Make a difference. All the way at the bottom. Start doing things you love. Yeah, it's good advice. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Yeah, we just experienced that, didn't we? We just experienced that right now by bumping that presser foot pressure up, thinking that that would serve us better. But the result is it ended up causing bunching issues, didn't it? Okay, and I think Paula's got some little clips right there. Let me see if I can use those clips to hold this material. And I might not use this stitch off holder all the time because I've got another one that was sent from Florida also from my friend Maddie, I think it was. This one's a little bit trickier to work with, but that's okay. I'll give it a go. Give it a go. All right, let's take a look at this top stitch first. And again, it's going to be a little bit compressed because of that vinyl factor. I don't even have that close to being turned far enough. Hold on a second. There we go. That's much better. All right, let's zoom in on that stitch. Hello. What is she? She looks like a Rachel, doesn't she? She looks a lot like a Rachel. All right, so let's go across and take a look at this stitching. 6 layers of this vinyl-based denim. Very tricky stuff. Not a single skip stitch. And we are using... Hello there. What does he look like? A Ken or a Bob, maybe? Yeah, or a Vincent? Yeah. So beautiful stitching all the way across. The spacing, the formation is really quite spot on. In certain points, it almost looks like our bobbin case might be pulling down a little bit too hard, like right there in the center. So if we were sewing a ton of this stuff, we might have to do a little bit of tweaking to get it exactly balanced the way we want it. But all in all, I'm really pleased with that. Again, 6 layers is not a walk in the park. I almost had 8 layers there for a second. So I'm going to release that little clamp. Release this. We're going to spin this around, and we'll take a look at that lock stitch. I love these little characters that Paula built into this. There we go. Got it there. Okay, so this again is our lock stitch. And again, we're battling that vinyl in this material, aren't we? It's not going to give us an easy day. But you can see here where that top stitch is a little bit compressed because our upper tension was set a little bit lower. But the result is we've got a real nice full stitch here on the bottom, even through these 6 layers of this vinyl-based heavy grade denim. Much less compression down here, so we could just balance it a little bit, then we'd get a real nice balance between that top stitch and that lock stitch. But again, it's so easy when you're sewing a vinyl-based material to have a skip stitch, and we didn't get a single one of those sewing through all of these layers of this stretchy denim stuff. There's another felt. Look at, they're all over the place. It is kind of fun, isn't it? Paula's just a brilliant gal, and she knows how to build fun into things. So totality of the stitching, we saw the same thing on the other side. Great formation of stitch, beautiful display of stitch. Everything about it is spot on. The compression factor just comes with the territory of sewing this many layers of a stretchy style of denim. So I'm really pleased with this sew off. It's a definite pass. It definitely nailed page 34. And again, we could do, if we were sewing a ton of this, we could do a little tweaking to get that tension just right. But all in all, this 401A managed to sew off that would kill other machines. It would just kill them. It really would. So very, very pleased. Now we have all of that space, and I didn't plan on doing that, but we could do a decorative type stitch on this as well. Now that's going to be a tough thing to carry off, and through 6 layers, it might be too much. So if it is, we'll back away from it, and it can still be wonderful, just like the quote on Paula's stitch off display. This one right here, life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. I'm a little bit embarrassed. I'm looking at the lady's legs right now. So let's go back up. Okay. Sorry, guys. No offense. Yeah, no offense. All right. Come out on this shot. So let's get this set up and let's try to do a decorative sew off using this same 6 layers of heavy grade denim. I'm going to set this display off to the side. We'll get our denim back into place. And we will pick a stitch to do this with. If this were a live stream, you could help me pick the stitch. But it's not, so, oh well. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to adjust the camera up to the top, kind of tilt that lid back and show you which stitch I'm going to pick. But first of all, let me zoom in on it to show you again. That's what we're going through right there, folks. And if it were just plain denim without that vinyl factor, it wouldn't be a big deal. But we're dealing with that vinyl factor, and now we're going to be trying to execute crazy needle swing through one of these built-in stitches that's on Paula's machine. Right about there should be about right, I think. Pretty close. So I'm going to carefully tilt the lid back. It's really cold here today, even down in the workshop. I'm going like, whoa! Okay, so let's tilt this back and just take a look. So those again are all the stitches that Paula's machine is capable of. So I'm going to pick one probably over here so you can see, or over here so you can see which one we're going to pick. I'm probably going to go with EP. EP is this one right over here. If you look real close, you might be able to see it. EP is the one that we'll do. So I'm going to set that one up to stitch off. EP. All right. No, I didn't say PP. I said EP. Mr. Bean. EP. EP. Echo Papa. Echo Papa. Yeah. All right, let's set this up for EP. And we'll also have to adjust the stitch length as well. So I'm pushing the brown one in to change this side. I'm pulling the white one out to change this side, okay? So I've got it at E, and now I'm going to pull this one out to go up to trying to do this left-handed again. Not a good idea. There we go. There I got her. Okay, so I've got this set on E, P, and now on the stitch length, I've got to back it down a ways. Got to back it down a ways. Right now we're on the largest stitch, right around 6 to 7 stitches per inch. You're going to unscrew that and then bring this up to, we're not going to go as short as we could because we're going through all these layers of this stretchy denim. We're going to go right around, probably right around 12 is where I'm at right now. Right around 12. All right, let's go back down to the material and see what we can do. This is going to be a tough sew off. It's not going to be easy at all. It's going to be really a challenge, actually. And I will pause this music so you can listen to Paula's machine run, going through what is a fairly difficult sew off. And again, we're sewing. If you want to duplicate this on your 401A, it's EP is the letter that we chose. So I'm going to pause this real quick. On the music, all you're going to hear is the heater running in the background so that I don't chatter my teeth too much. Again, I'm going to take my take-up arm to the highest position. And the display of this stitch pattern isn't going to be as refined as it would if we were doing it, say, on some cotton with a stiffener, because we're going to be using a size 9014 Schmetz needle, a universal needle. And even though we're using embroidery thread, we have a much larger needle than you typically would use with this tri-lobal embroidery thread that we have up top. Plus we're going through this stretchy denim, so you lose a little bit of that stitch resolution, okay? So we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get. Again, I don't have it set super duper short, right around 12 to 15 stitches per inch is kind of what we're going to be getting, okay? All right, let's give it a go. And again, listen to Paula's machine run. Matter of fact, I'll really be courageous and temporarily shut off my heater so it's absolutely quiet down here. All right, you ready? Okay, here we go. I was concerned we were going to get a little bit of bunching there because The material was like, I don't know about this stuff. But we made it through beautifully. Very, very solid feed with this machine. And we ended up executing, again, we didn't get it as condensed as we could have. As a matter of fact, we can sew it one more time now that we have that material nice and stable with those 2 stitch lines so that it's not as wiggly jiggly. We can do it one more time and get that even tighter. But we got a real good result. You can kind of see that in the shot. Lock stitch as well. But we're going to tighten it up a little bit more. See if we can get away with doing that. Because now we've got 2 stitch lines to stabilize this material so it's not as likely to bunch, it's not as likely to wiggle jiggle. And we'll try it one more time. Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay, so I'm going to get that underneath the presser foot, get our thread to the rear, and we'll try laying this down one more time on this real tricky stretch type denim. Take up arm at the highest position. So what I'm doing off camera is I'm tweaking that stitch length a little bit so that we can get that even a little bit more snug, a little bit tighter. We're not going to go crazy with it, but we'll see if we can tighten that up a little bit better. All right, let's give this a try again. All right, here we go. That machine is just silky smooth. Going through 6 layers of this stretchy denim, just like a hot knife through butter. And that motor is just kicking in like, oh yeah, I got this. Oh yeah, I got this. So now let's set this up for display. And I think I can do it against the needle bar. I won't even have to use the stitch off display holder. As beautiful as it is, we might just try to skip that for right now. We'll just take a peek at these stitches real quick, because we've got a lot more to cover, folks, a lot more to cover. Okay, so this is our top stitch. Let me line that up a little bit, get that so we can see it, hopefully. Yeah, I think that'll work nicely. Put our fun music back on. Let's take a look at these stitches. Again, 6 layers of this real stretchy denim stuff that we've got. Take a look at that top stitch first. And I'm going to look at both stitch rows at the same time so you can see the impact that we brought by bringing that stitch length even to a shorter point. Top row is our first one, bottom row is our second. And if we were crazy, we could go further than that, but it's kind of a push on this material. Beautiful stitching. Top row again is our straight stitch that we laid down. Come out, totality of the stitching, right about to there. Lock it in place, there we go. So really pleased with that. It's a real tough sew off. 6 layers of this real stretchy, you know, kind of like skinny jeans, blah, 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 type jean material, this denim. So beautiful stitching, no skip stitches. And this needle's already gotten a lot of work out, as you saw. We already did all of this on this needle. So for it to continue to be performing with a sew off like this, delivering like that, I couldn't be any happier. But you know what? It is the nature of a Schmetz needle, isn't it? So let's turn this around, look at the other side with that lock stitch, and see what we think of that. And I'm going to shut this light off just temporarily, see if that creates a little bit less of a glare off of there. LED is wonderful, but when you're trying to shoot it with a camera, it sometimes doesn't like it very much. Not at all. So the bottom row again is the one that we did second. The top row is the one we did first. So just look at the way you can impact the look and the display of a stitch pattern by manipulating that stitch length. And we could go so much further than this if we were sewing on a material that was a little bit more friendly. But this will at least give you an idea. Totality of the stitching, absolutely spot on. Looks really, really good. So I'm going to throw this to the back and breathe a sigh of relief that we made it through it. Because this is probably the toughest sew-off that we'll be doing today. I'm going to throw that to the back. And all of these sew-offs, as usual, will go with the machine. So Paula will have a chance to actually hold them in her hand and actually look at them and touch them and just revisit again what she saw in this premiere, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let me come out on this shot a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a couple of other decorative stitch-offs. We already did this on the other pre-premiere, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it again, and we're going to be sewing off some protected full-grain leather. But as I promised, I'm going to try to do protected full-grain leather folded back to back so we can see the definition of that lock stitch a lot clearer than we could on the other pre-premiere where we were kind of looking at it through the nap. But you know, again, the difference in cameras, when I showed it to you again with this camera, you could clearly see what you couldn't see with that webcam. Even though it's a high-def webcam, the autofocus on it just doesn't, it doesn't like when I try to get too close to things sometimes. So that again is the benefit of shooting a regular premiere instead of a live stream, is I can use this camera and show you things up close a lot better definition. Yeah, that was almost English. I'm getting better at this, yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to pick out another stitch that we have not sewn before. I think I did FM or EP before. So I'm going to try doing, let's see here. I'm going to do a BM. Not like a BM like in the medical terms. That would be pretty scary. All right, so I'm going to do a BM. I should write some of these down so I don't have to keep popping the lid. Hold on. A BM. Let's see. BM. What else will we sew? What else will we try? Why don't we do an, I'm trying to remember which one is. Why don't we do a BR? We'll do a BR. And we'll do one more. Why don't we do an IP? Kind of like internet provider, we'll do an IP. I don't believe we did an IP yet. So BM, BR, IP. And because we've already done so many of these built-in cam stitches on Paula's machine, I'm not going to go crazy with that. I'm not going to go crazy with that. And I'll leave some of this leather open for Paula to give it a try. I'm going to do that more in the center once we get this a stitch line to stabilize this. I could also grab my clamps, couldn't I? Paula sent me clamps as well, but I've got some of mine right here. Let's see if that works well. I don't know if it will or not. So we'll lay down this first stitch, which is going to be BM. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up to sew by changing these controls to BM. And I should show you in this one as well how I did that, even though I'm going to be doing it one-handed. That way, again, I don't like when people do things far away and then you're left with, what did he do? What did he do? I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did. So again, this one is going to control this. The white one is going to control this. This one you push, This one you pull. Push and pull. Oh, push me, pull me. Yeah, that's fun. So BP, right? No, I'm sorry. BM. Push in, go up to B. There we go. And now we're going to go to M on this side. So I'm pulling out the white one. One-handed, left-handed. Not the greatest opportunity. There we go. So we got that set on BM now. You see that? All right, perfect. So now we are going to set the camera up again, zoom in, and give this a go. Again, I did not pre-test this. Trying to lay down a decorative stitch like this through protected full grain leather. It's a little bit of a risk, but that's okay. Like Paula's quote, look at that, see what I'm saying? Oh man, this is scary! Scary! All right, that's okay. Let's see what we get and not throw a fit, huh? All right, hopefully I don't break a needle. I don't think I will. I might. It's possible. I've got more needles. All right. So again, this is BM as far as the stitch selection, which I believe is off of, BM is off of the primary patterns. Yep, the primary patterns. As is BR, and then IP is a combination pattern. So we're going to be doing 2 primary and 1 combination pattern. All right, let's see how this turns out. Oh man, I'm a little nervous. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little bit nervous. All right, let's give it a go. Here we go. Whew. That's a little bit scary. That's a little bit scary. All right, my focus is going to be more so than anything, it's going to be on stitch quality. Not necessarily that it's representative completely of the stitch pattern. That's not necessarily what we're aiming for. And I'm going to do all 3 of these, and then we'll look at all 3 of them together. I think we went through all of our music already. Jolly Ranchers. Batman. All right, put out a little bit more music here. Okay, so our next one is going to be BR, so we're going to have to change only the right side now. Only the right side. Which way I had this? I think I had it like that. Okay, so BR, I'm going to change this to R. Perfect. All right, so we already have it changed. We're all set to go. I'm going to launch right into this without any further delay. And we'll just keep our fingers crossed. Keep our fingers crossed. All right, here we go. BR. Oops, a little bit more gas, buddy. This is protected full grain leather. Oh, that is gorgeous. Ooh, hello you. Hello you. Can you see that in the shot? That's a fun one. Ooh. All right. So we have one more stitch to do. And again, depending on where you set that stitch length, the type of needle you're using, the type of thread, and certainly the number of layers. I mean, we're doing, look at that from the side. We're doing more than a man's belt right now. More than a man's belt. This is conservatively, right about here, using my mechanical caliper. At the widest point. We're looking at 6 millimeters, folks. 6 millimeters of leather. 6 millimeters of leather. That's insane. That's a little bit of crazy. All right, so we're going to do our last pattern, which is IP. IP. So I'm making the adjustment up here, down to I, moving this over to P. All right, perfect. I think I have it. I think I have it. All right, here we go. Perfect music for this. Perfect music. Sounds like we're doing something freaky. What I'm going to do real quick is I actually notice now that the machine is way back because I had that display out there. I'll leave it like that because it's easier. It's easier to just leave it. We'll just leave it. Leave it. All right, here we go. Our last sew off on this protected full grain leather, we're doing IP. We already did BM and BR. And I might do BM one more time just to get a little bit better definition out of that. I might do it. Actually, I realize now I have this upside down. Hold on a second. Aha! Wait a second, is that right? Oh, I'm so confused now. That's top stitch. I think it's like this. Pretty sure it's like this. Like 60% sure. I'm gonna actually offset that because then we're gonna do the BM one more time right next to the other BM so we can look at them comparatively. All right, here we go. This is IP with this dramatic, suspenseful music. All right, here we go. Woo! Folks, we're going through like 6 millimeters of leather. I'm a little bit nervous. Just being honest with you. Oh, that's really a cool one. It looks like a mountain range. Can you see that? Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh! Oh, that's fun. Oh, I love it. Hello. All right, let me clip these other threads. And again, it's not likely that Paula is going to be sewing 2 layers of protected full grain leather every day of the week, but she can do it. She knows she can do it now, right? All right, so we're going to try that stitch off one more time with the BM. We did it right here. You can see in the shot, we did it right here. This one right here. We're going to do it again with a little bit shorter stitch length. And then we did this gorgeous one over here, which is the IP. No, it's not. This is the BR. And then this is the IP over here that we just did, the mountain range. So IP, if you want to duplicate it on your 401A, IP, BM, right there, and then BR over there. It's so confusing. Ah! Which way is up, Daddy? Which way is up? All right, let's give this a go. This again is going to be BM that we're going to be sewing a second time. BM. All right, here we go. Folks, again, I want to emphasize something to you. Oh, wait a second. Dagnabbit. I forgot to change the stitch selector. Oh, geez. Well, that's okay. We sewed the super cool mountain one twice, and now I'll go on the other side, and we'll do the BM, but I'll actually change the knobs this time. I started to sew, and I thought, but that doesn't quite look like it, but okay, whatever. So it doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. We just did wonderful twice. Look at that. Wonderful twice. Wait a second. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Should not have had that third cup of coffee today. I just shouldn't have done it. I should have said, no thanks. No, thank you for offering it, but I think I'll skip. I think I'll skip that one right there, yeah. Yeah, we'll skip that one. All right, let's try this again. Try this again. All right, now I'm actually going to change the knobs. So I'm going to change it back to BM from IP. Doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Boy, we get a lot of that in the workshop, don't we? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. All right, let's give this a try. And this music is perfect for this. I love this. All right, let's try this again. So what we're going to be sewing this time, miraculously, we're not going to be sewing these again, which we've already done twice on the far left side, the IP. We're not going to be doing the BR over here, this really cool scallop style one, which is really a sexy looking stitch, in my opinion. We're going to be sewing this one right here down the middle. That one right there, which is BM. So let's try that again and see what we think. All right, here we go. I'm intentionally taking it slow. Just to show you, you don't have to gun it. You don't have to gun it when you got this motor that peaks at 1 amp that I totally optimized. Oh yeah, I like that a lot better. Isn't that something? Look at that. We're gonna look at all of these now. And again, what we just sewed, folks, you really have to take this in. You really have to think about this. We just sewed through 2 layers of protected full grain leather, folded back to back. Now it's just like the grain of wood, right? It's a lot easier to pierce through material that is orientated the same way. In other words, if I'm sewing this protected full grain leather, if I put this top side and then I put another layer underneath it with the top side facing up, I'm going with the grain of the leather. I'm piercing through it the same direction, as opposed to folding it back to back and then I'm basically going through it against the grain. I've got this one, I've got this one, and I'm really having to fight that leather even more. But you never ever heard this 401A from 1957. You never heard it struggling. It just went through it like whatever. So I'm going to put it like this. The last stitch we just did is on top. And then we'll look at all the other stitches as well below it. So again, if you want to duplicate this on your 401A, it's totally cool. Do it! Do it! Let me just turn that a little bit more. There we go. So what I've got right now that I'm showing you is a little bit of art. We're looking at the totality of stitching right now, nearly the totality. There we go. The very top row is the same as the third row from the top down. And all we did was shorten that stitch length a little bit more. And we could have gone further, but folks, we're sewing through 2 layers of protected full grain leather. The equivalent of probably about 10 to 12 ounces of leather, or about 6 millimeters thick. 6 millimeters thick! And we're not using a leather needle. We're using a 9014 Schmetz universal needle with embroidery thread. If if anyone wants to criticize anything about my work or about this channel, never ever try to make the claim that I don't push the boundaries and that I don't go against challenges and odds that would cause other people to have heart palpitations. Because that top row is the stitch BM that we just did. The same as the third one down. Identical stitch pattern, just different stitch lengths, and drop dead gorgeous. I'm going to come in a little bit closer. The second row down from the top is that BR stitch that we did, which is absolutely spectacular. It kind of looks like waves a little bit, doesn't it? Like waves on the ocean, or waves on the lake, or waves on the Bay of Green Bay here near Oconto. I shouldn't say near Oconto, like right, we're on the bay. It's what we do. And then the last, or I should say the center stitch, the middle stitch down the middle, is also going to be BM with a slightly longer stitch length. And then the two bottom ones that I described as kind of like mountain ranges or something like that, that's going to be IP if you want to try it on your 401A. IP. Now let's zoom even closer and take a look at these. We'll go from the top down. That is a real short stitch, folks. Beautiful stitching. Again, the top stitch we're looking at is, I gotta look at my sheet again. Hold on. BM. The wavy stitch below it, the one that looks like ocean waves or something, is going to be BR. BMBR. BMBR. Beautiful. Now we're looking at BM with a longer stitch length, but then we're looking at IP just below it, the mountain range. You know what? I don't mind the longer one, the BM one. That's kind of cool too. Yeah, that's really cool. Then finally, the IP on the bottom is another one we did. We look at them comparatively, because I did the second one by mistake. Beautiful stitching. Totality of the stitching again, kind of look at all the rows together. It's art. It's literally art, and all we did was stitch 2 layers of protected full grain leather together. That's all we did. Nothing fancy, but certainly impressive. I don't know of a single machine you can buy over the counter now at a major retailer or big box store that would be able to handle a sew-off like this. There's no way. And if you tried to sew it with one of those store-bought models that are made today, you would hear a lot of breaking and cracking with those plastic gears. This machine, again, is all forged steel, including the direct drive worm gear that comes off the top of the motor is also forged steel as well. You can sew like this with this machine as long as you do basic maintenance on it all day long. All day long. And it'll just keep on going and going and going like the Energizer Rabbit. Let me get my hand off the camera. Folks, that is absolutely page 34 stitching. Again, we have a less than ideal setup. We've got a larger needle, a 9014, which is about middle of the road. And then we've got embroidery thread by Coates & Clark. It's called Trilobal if you want to look it up. Trilobal embroidery thread by Coates & Clark is what we're sewing with. So generally, embroidery thread, you're not going to be sewing about 12 ounces of protected full grain leather, 6 millimeters thick. You're not going to be doing it, but we do, because it's how we roll on this channel. We're always pushing the limits. We're always trying things that other people would look at and say, that's impossible. And then we make it happen. Yeah, it's how we, yeah. So now let's look at the lock stitch on the back side of this. And again, as I turn it around, we're looking at the lock stitch now. Let me rock it forward and look at the thickness of what we went through. And I've got the screen the wrong way. Oh, now the screen isn't locked either. Dagnabbit. Look at what we just sewed through, folks. That is insane. That's insane. Let me set it up like that. Let's take a look at this stitching as well. So totality of the stitching, again, this is our lock stitch, is absolutely spot on to this rock song. Oh yeah. I'm seeing Mr. Bean dancing right now. I really am. It's what I'm seeing. See that? I said it and he came out. Ooh. All right, let's take a look at this stitching. Again, this is our lock stitch. It's always going to be more difficult to generate this stitch than a top stitch because of the friction, the gravity, and the drag factor of trying to pull that thread back up through all of this leather, folks. All of this leather. And these are absolutely page 34. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Again, that top stitch row is BM. The one just below it is BR. And again, these are considered primary stitches that are built into this machine, part of that cam stack. Absolutely unbelievable how beautiful those are. Now we're going to drop down and look at these other stitches. We'll look at the two center rows first. Again, we're looking at BM again, but then we're looking at the row just below it, which is IP. Again, imagine the amount of needle swing that this machine has to do sewing with a less than ideal setup, and not even once did we skip a stitch. Not even once. Going through all of this leather, protected full grain leather. If you don't know it, protected full grain leather has a coating on it that makes it a lot more resistant to staining. And now we're looking at those last two rows. Kind of already looked at the top one. We're looking at the stitch output of IP. Folks, you have no idea how difficult that is for this machine to do. And again, this is our lock stitch, going through all of that leather with all of that needle swing, using a non-leather needle, using embroidery thread. Embroidery thread. Folks, totality of the stitching, it is such a no-brainer that is going to be a page 34, a definite pass. And just a spectacular example of what a properly optimized slant-o-matic is capable of doing with less than an ideal setup nonetheless. And it just knocked it out of the park with solid page 34 stitching. I would even say page 34 plus, both on the lock stitch, and then again as I turn it over and show you that top stitch again as well, is just absolutely brag-worthy. Both of those stitch patterns are just absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And what I'm seeing, if I look real close at this, it's a solid page 34, if not a solid page 34 plus, but I'm noticing just a slight bit of compression on the top stitch, which is telling me that that bobbin case down below is pulling down a little bit too hard for this particular material that we're using, these two layers of protected full grain leather. So if we were sewing a ton of this, which we could, because this machine is all forged steel on the inside, even though the outside case is aluminum, it's able to handle heavy duty, ridiculously, almost light industrial sewing like this all day long, as long as you maintain the machine with proper lubrication and change out those needles frequently. You got to keep changing out those needles to keep that needle nice and sharp. But slight compression on the top stitch, we can solve that very easily by either bumping up the upper tension just slightly or backing off that bobbin case slightly. That's it. And then we just keep on going, just drive that boat home. So I'm going to throw this to the back as well, an absolute pass, along with the stretchy denim that we did, and certainly all the off-camera sewing that we did as well. Why, you know what, that's not true. This was not off-camera sewing. This was all on that live stream, all of these. So I stand corrected. All of these were done on a live stream with Paula's machine. So all of this is on camera. One is a live stream, and then this is a premiere. So there you go. So what I'm going to sew off on next is some of this 100% cotton that Paula sent in her Christmas box to me. And this cotton is called, I know it starts with a K, hold on a second. This is called 100% cotton by Kona. It's a Kona, it's a hybrid Cadillac version of cotton is what it is. Kona, K-O-N-A. And we're going to be doing some stitching on this as well. Matter of fact, we will probably do a couple of decorative sew-offs on this. Maybe we'll do the IP and the BR, which I think are absolutely spectacular. The IP and the BR. And again, what Paula has here is she has these 2 layers of 100% Kona, 100% cotton, and then she's got a quilt batting in between the 2. So that's what we'll be trying to stitch off on next. So let me adjust the camera a little bit. I can revisit this again and show you how we set this up, but I think you guys are super smart and you already know. Matter of fact, I'll come out right about to there. Yeah, go right about to there so you can admire the machine from a distance as well. So on this Kona 100% cotton material that Paula sent with this, I almost said stiffener, but it's a batting in the inside of it. We're going to be sewing off on some decorative type stitches, and we'll do the I think we'll do the BR. And I'm thinking I might want to back off that presser foot pressure just a little bit, so I just turned it about a half a turn. So we'll set this up for BR. So I'm already on B. I'm already on M, so now I need to just pull the white one and adjust this side to R. Okay, that easy. And then we'll adjust this stitch length down, because right now I've got it quite large, all the way down on 7. We'll adjust it down to almost to the fine range. Almost to the fine range. Not quite. And I did not test this already, so I'm taking a little bit of a risk. I've never sewn this Kona style 100% cotton before, probably because I couldn't afford to buy it. It just sounds expensive, doesn't it? What do you have there? You have some Kona? Yeah, well, you know, I took out a second mortgage on the house so I could buy this 100% cotton Kona material. That's what I did. Yeah. All right, so let's see how Paula's machine does in managing the much lighter side, much like a quilter would be quilting, with the 2 layers of 100% cotton Kona material with this this batting in between the 2. All right, let's see how we do. All right, here we go. Once I get my foot on the foot controller. And I can see my presser foot pressure is a little bit too heavy. See how we're getting a little bit of a buckling there? Back it off a little bit more. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. All right. That was kind of an adjustment midstream. What do you think of that? That's kind of scary, wasn't it? And here's what we got, folks. That is absolutely drop dead gorgeous, isn't it? I can't see because I have the screen the wrong way. Oh, let me zoom in on it too. Duh. Let me zoom in on it now that we kind of went wide. You're looking from a distance going, okay, we can't really see anything, Scott, but thanks for that. Thanks for that there, buddy. Ah. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous stitching. Paula, I really like this setup that you gave me. She gave me multiple bags of these with this Kona 100% cotton and this quilt batting in between, and it's just like, are you kidding me? What? It's amazing, amazing stuff. Maybe it's worth remortgaging the house. You never know. All right, so let me clip the thread and then we'll take a look at this a little bit closer, but you can already see it is just spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Wow, wow, wow. And Paula is not alone. We've got a number of first-class type ladies that are regulars at premieres like this and live streams. I mean, they've got absolutely gorgeous stuff, don't they? Kind of go across the screen. I'm kind of looking over my shoulder, so I'm hoping I keep it relatively straight. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to turn it around as well and show you that lock stitch. And I'll set this up as well so we can look at it even closer up, because we're a little bit of a distance out right now. Looking over my shoulder again. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely spectacular. So let's do this. Let's do another decorative stitch on here. And then we'll set this up so we can look at it even closer. And I did have a little bit of a material movement because I had that presser foot pressure too high. Hopefully now that we have that stabilized, we'll get a nice output the second round down. I'm going to come out a little bit on this shot so you can see that stitching even closer. Yeah, it's a little tricky. It kind of puckers up a little bit, doesn't it? Go right about to there, I think. So I'm going to be setting that IP stitch, which I think is really kind of cool. And then we'll do a straight stitch next to it if we have enough room, because I did have that material pull back a little bit. So I'm going to IP now. I think that's the one we did before. IP. There we go. Let's see. Yep. Yep, IP is the one that, I think that's the mountain range, if I'm not mistaken. So let's try that one next. This is definitely IP music right here. All right, here we go. I'll try this clamp on the other side, see if that helps me a little bit. Helped a little bit. I need all the help I can get, folks. All the help I can get. Look at that. Isn't that fun? Very, very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, and last but not least, we will do a straight stitch down on the right side of this. Alright, I think I got it set up pretty good. Put that little clamp on there again. Try to help me out. Alright. So what I'm doing on the controls is I'm adjusting the brown one all the way up to A and the white one all the way down to K. That gives us a straight stitch. And then I'm going to lengthen that straight stitch out. Alright, here we go. Our final stitch on this Kona 100% cotton with a batting in between the two layers. Alright, here we go. Hold on a second. There we go. I'll take that clamp off or I'm going to sew right over it. There we go, I got that cut. All right, perfect. Now I probably will use Paula's stitch off holder because those little clamps will help to hold this a lot more stable than the regular stitch off holder I have where I kind of just balance it there. So let's kind of set them up right there. And then we'll look at these in the order that we did them. Love all of our cool little friends. All right, I almost have it set up. I'm so close. I got so excited about getting that clamp off as I was sewing that last stitch line of straight stitching. I kind of pulled part of the batting out. It's like, hey, what are you doing? Well, you can already see. You can already see. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And you know what? You pay for what you get, right? So this, oh, hi. That looks like Rachel. Yeah, that's totally a Rachel. So let's go across and look at this stitching. Again, we sewed the primary pattern of BR on the very top. Then we did IP, and then we did a straight stitch on the bottom. Let's go across and look at these. Folks, I'm already at a page 34. Oh my gosh. Folks, it just doesn't get any better than that. I say all the time, hello Rachel. I just say it all the time. I don't believe in the perfect stitch, but look at that straight stitch in particular on the bottom. For that matter, look at the BR stitch on top or the IP stitch below it. Folks, that is as close to perfection as you can get. Unbelievable. Totality of the stitching. That is just gorgeous, isn't it? And I'm so glad that Paula sent these, because a basic sew-off would not display this as beautifully as that quilted effect that comes from the batting between those two layers of the 100% Kona material. Isn't that's if you're not typing in the chat like, oh my goodness gravy, that is an oh my goodness gravy stitch off right there. See that? Wow. Let's turn it over and look at the lock stitch. So now we're going to be looking at the lock stitch. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, I can just about have it stabilized. Okay, this is our lock stitch. Again, 2 layers of Kona 100% cotton. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it. Where's the drama? It's page 34 plus, folks.
That was easy.
That was easy. Thank you.
That was easy.
You guys want to know something really scary? The first time you heard that was easy, I wasn't pushing the button. This thing is like possessed. Okay, whatever. Maybe the battery's getting low. Folks, right there, just right there, page 34 plus, that is absolutely music, isn't it? Paula, look at that. Look at that, Paula. You're not Paula, you're Rachel. Wow. Folks, how would I improve this? I don't know. If you're looking for a 401A that can do this magic, not you, Rachel, someone else watching right now. If you're looking for a 401A that can sew at this level, to this degree of perfection, I've got one for you. Paula got hers by making a $400 donation that went to support the History Museum down in South Bend, Indiana. You can get yours by just getting it directly from the workshop. Absolutely unbelievable. Just breathe it in, folks. Breathe it in. You've seen Paula's machine go through 2 layers of protected full grain leather, about 6 millimeters thick. You've seen it now sew the lighter side and lay down page 34 stitching. Let me get my hand off the camera, like that. It doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't. I don't know what else I can show you other than we're going to jump over to Facebook and I'll show you why is this 401A sewing at this level. Do all 401As have, do all 401As sew like this? No, they don't. They don't. Unless they come through the workshop and received a dose of the magic. Yeah, unless they come through the workshop. Don't watch a premiere like this. Don't watch a live stream of a machine laying down stitching like this and then go out and buy one on eBay or on Etsy or on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, and then sit down to the machine and all of a sudden get disappointed because it won't do this to this level of perfection. It takes a lot of work to get a machine to this level, and I'm going to show you some of those steps that I took Paula's machine through. Not all of them. Only 3 sets of photos are we going to look at. Only 3 sets. There's actually 2 additional ones, and I'll add those links in the description of this premiere so you can go and visit those as well to look at all the steps that this machine was taken through. It doesn't just happen by happenstance. It does not happen by happenstance. There's no way. No way. It takes a lot of work. On this machine, about 16 hours. And because, again, this is a machine that I donated to support that fundraiser, along with the other Slantomatics as well that I donated. This was all time that the workshop wrote off the books. It was time that was donated. All the prep of the machine for Paula as well. So not only the machine value that I donate, but I also donated the value of my time as well. So, and there's our singer repairman. If you're brand new to this channel and you're going, what's with the old guy with the cool tie and the pipe? I call him the singer repairman. Other people might give him another name, like from Pinocchio, the guy that works in the workshop there. You know what I'm talking about. But this is our singer repairman. And he is a wonderful base of knowledge for keeping us on track with not only hitting the goals of making machines as great as they were when they left the factory back in his time, but making them even better. And that's part of our what factor do I talk about all the time. Starts with a C. What factor do I talk about all the time? And it takes us to a point where it's going to make us better and better, make us better today than it was yesterday. And I'm distracted by Mr. Bean over here right now. Yeah. Okay, at any rate. So I'm talking about the CANI factor, right? C-A-N-I. Constant and never-ending what? Type in that last word if you haven't done so already. Constant and never-ending what? While you're doing that, I'll go to the next picture. So that beautiful engineering right there. Put on some more music while we're looking at this. That beautiful engineering right there is the built-in cam stack that allowed us to sew all of those cool stitches today. The BM, the BR, and the IP stitch all comes from this cam stack right there. But it wasn't able to do that when I first started taking this machine through the surgical finalization process from bobbin to balance wheel. Like every single machine that comes into the workshop goes through that process, over 120 steps. I'm dancing right now. This is dancing music. So this needed a lot of attention. Now we're looking inside of the faceplate at the needle bar and the presser foot bar and all the other mechanics in there that also needs to be optimized as well. And right now it's a filthy, filthy mess. There we go. I think I almost have it centered now. Servicing, adjustments, and cleaning. Look at that. That's not patina, folks. That is varnishing, and it acts like a sticky glue on any part of the machine that it's stuck to. It restricts the movement of the machine. It causes the motor to overwork, so you got to get rid of it. Oh yeah, that's looking better. Those are some of the tools that I use. That's where the upper tension would be, and that's all pulled apart and all deep cleaned and adjusted as well. And there I'm using a Dremel style tool to get that area on the inside nice and clean so that none of that dirt and stuff migrates through the machine and contaminates it after we're done. Oh yeah, that's a big difference. That's what the singer repairman said to me. He goes, wow, that's night and day. There's our presser foot adjuster that we manipulated a little bit today as we were changing between the field of materials we were sewing. Lots of cleaning, lots of deep cleaning. I call it strategic cleaning because anyone can clean, but you have to know what to clean. You have to know the compounds to use, the tools to use, so that you don't cause damage to the machine. That's the big deal. Really starting to come together nicely. Really coming together nicely. Some of our friends looking on, watching the transformation occur. Oh yeah, that's looking a lot better, isn't it? Look at that presser foot bar assembly and that needle bar assembly. You're starting to see the way it's supposed to look now. And that'll increase the function of it dramatically. Look at all that filth we're getting off of the machine. And again, from start to finish, this process on Paula's machine took probably almost 16 hours. Again, because this was a machine that supported one of our fundraiser causes, it's all time that I donated, and I'm really happy to do that because number one, Paula's going to get a fabulous machine, and it supported a great cause. It kept a museum open that otherwise might have closed. Now we're lubricating those clean surfaces. Again, you never lubricate a dirty part of the machine. You got to clean it all the way down the bare metal and then add that lubrication to it afterwards. If you don't do that, it's like changing the oil on your car and leaving the original filter on. It doesn't make sense. Here we're lubricating part of that cam assembly that when we adjust those knobs, this is part of the mechanics that is turning and adjusting to give us that cam output. Money can't make you happy, but sewing absolutely, definitely can. I said absolutely, I didn't look at the sign. Sewing definitely can. And sewing gives us all a lot of pleasure, doesn't it? You can see here all of the buildup around there, here as well. And again, this is an aluminum machine, so we're looking at varnishing and just scum. We're not necessarily looking at rust. There on the metal shaft, which is forged steel, we do have a combination of varnishing and rust. So there was rust mitigation that had to be done on this machine. And rust like that can pop up very quickly. It's not a matter of long-term storage, it's even short-term storage where there's a little bit too much moisture. Or maybe you live like our friends, like Paula and Emma and Bill and Maddie down in Florida where there's a lot of humidity. This is also likely to happen a lot sooner. Look at the difference already. That was all covered in varnishing and junk and some rust, and now it's spick and span as it should be. Getting that cleaned up as well. See what was on that machine, just choking the life out of the machine, and now we've eradicated it. Every part of the machine counts. Every part plays a role in delivering the page 34 plus stitching that you saw today, and this demonstrating an optimized machine that can buzz through with decorative stitching on 2 layers of protected full grain leather, like it's that Kona cotton that Paula provided for me to do the sew-offs on. Now we're targeting that cam stack, getting that all optimized, step by step by step by step, layer after layer after layer, and there is the way it should be. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that sexy? That is just wow, wow. Now that is where the output shaft comes up from the motor below. Again, on these Slantomatics, they have a vertically mounted direct drive motor that comes up from below. And you got a all metal gear right here. And then you have a Teflon style gear that is built into the balance wheel. The two of those come together, and that's what allows you positive traction, solid launch, as long as you take your take-up arm to the highest position, each and every time, and you never have to replace a belt on this machine. Isn't that spectacular? Layer by layer, look at the difference. That was the before right here. And layer by layer, step by step, we start to get all that junk out of there that's holding this machine back. Look at on the end of my dental tool there. It looks like sludge. It practically is sludge that was just choking the life out of Paula's 401A. And we're getting rid of it. Look at that microfiber cloth as I've been cleaning out that well area where that output shaft comes up from the motor. And again, you can't leave any dirt behind. It's like don't leave any soldier, Marine, airman, naval personnel person, whatever, sailor behind. You got to get rid of all the dirt because otherwise it'll migrate through the entire machine like a cancer. Now we've taken the balance wheel off. We're looking inside of that inside well adjacent to where that metal worm gear comes up from the motor. And that's filthy as well. You'll see that in the additional progress shots. Look at that. Just filth. Filth and buildup. Getting some nice solvent in there. That'll start to break that down so we can get all that out of there. Do you want that inside of your machine? Because if you pay the 120, 130 bucks or whatever it is in your neck of the woods, maybe it's a little bit less. But if you take your 401A or any other Slantomatic machine or any sewing machine into a local service center in your area, they're going to spend about 45 minutes on it. And when that machine leaves their workspace, it's going to have all the same junk in there because all they're going to do is basic adjustments, basic lubrication, get it out the door. Because they have so much overhead, they can't spend 16 hours on a machine and stay, keep the lights on and stay profitable. They've got to push those machines out in about 45 minutes or maybe less. So all of this junk, all of this crud, all of this septic sewage is going to stay in your machine, choking the life out of your machine, causing that motor to have to work so much harder and wear that motor out prematurely. So, is that what you want? Is that your level of desire for your machine? Gosh, I hope not. I hope not. Have standards like Paula and Emma and Mindy and Sunny and Michelle and all of our other friends that are, Roz, that just have standards off the charts. They want the workshop magic. They don't want mediocrity. No way. And we went full circle. Hey. Now we're on the bottom of the machine. These are some of the worm gears that are just choking the life out of this machine because they're so crudded up. And they're also right now striking each other metal to metal as they're interlaced because there's no cushion of grease on there other than this old nasty varnished crystallized crudded up type grease that's on there right now. It's almost fossilized on there, isn't it? No idea who that is. We've got to check the security on this workshop. Someone's sneaking in now. So now we're just getting all the crud out of that that area again, that cavity that's adjacent to that output shaft from the motor. Getting all that cleaned up. That's the stuff that we don't want to stay in the machine, right? No way. Look at this now. If you can imagine your sewing machine for the first time in decades, being able to take a large gulp of air in, being able to take a large breath and breathe back out and say, oh my gosh, it feels so good. That's what Paula's 1957 401A is saying right now as we're looking at this transformation. Thank goodness for the workshop. Thank goodness. Look at all that junk. Wow. Step by step by step, hour after hour after hour. Fresh grease. The pink grease is going on now. Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, once it's clean, then you re-lubricate it again. Some areas of the 401A need grease, others need oil. Others should be dry. Now the motor has been removed, and now you're going to see me tear the motor down as well. There's so much junk that gets built up inside of the motors because the motors act like what? What is the appliance or the tool that I always describe motors acting like because of what they do in the environment of the machine? Type it into the chat, would you? Type in the chat what they act like. What you're looking at here is the shaft that goes up to the top of that well that we just cleaned out, where that output shaft comes out with that metal worm gear. That also has filth and buildup in it as well. Checking wiring, and right now when the wiring leaves, and this is where I say we make things better than when they came from the factory. When the wiring leaves the environment of the factory back in 1957 when this machine was born, they don't take time to insulate all of that copper wiring, but it's something that I do because electricity acts like water. If it's not insulated, it leaks out and you lose optimization of the machine. You lose power. You lose that punch factor that that motor could otherwise deliver because it's losing electricity. It's bleeding, basically. It's bleeding out electricity instead of that electricity being channeled to that motor. It's bleeding out, it's being lost. So we eliminate that factor by doing a better job than even the factory did in Anderson, South Carolina back in the day where this machine was born. Let me put more music on and then we'll read this together. So what this little guy is saying, only a couple inches of bobbin thread. Finished my project before. He looks kind of ticked off, doesn't he? Now these are some of the interlacing gears on the bottom of the machine. This particular grouping is over by the raceway side. Look at how can they do their job when they're like that? How can they do their job? There's just no way they can do their job when they're that junked up. There's just no way. Now we're starting to tear that motor apart. I talked about that before. And these motors are so much more tricky to disassemble and reassemble properly than a standard Singer motor. So just if you decide to take it on, you're going to need special tools first of all, and just be real careful. Tearing the motor down like this alone adds about almost an hour and a half to the job. So we're in cleaning and inspecting everything from the commutator to the stators to the stack lamentations. Every component of that electric motor is optimized and deep cleaned. It's part of what we're doing right here. Now the outside looks good, but we haven't totally flooded that interior core out yet, because you can only get so far into the machine with dental tools and other tools. You've got to use also a flooding process to push all of that out, much like you would do with a motor on a car. Also, lubrication is critical on the motors, and on these tower type motors that go in the Slant-O-Matics, you can lubricate a lot more parts of the motor than you can on a standard Singer motor. There's our commutator right there. Not looking so great right now. We're going to try to improve on that. Now we've done a thorough flushing of that motor after disassembling it, because then you can really get in all those nooks and crannies and grooves. Look at all the junk that came out of that motor. And that was after cleaning it with dental tools. Can you imagine? You go into a service center, they spend that 45 minutes on your machine, you leave with all of this junk still inside of that motor, and you wonder why your motor overheats. You wonder why you can smell things in the air from that motor getting so hot. So don't settle with mediocrity. It's going to take longer at the workshop, obviously. There's a wait time right now because of I'm the only worker here. Even though I have my wonderful friends that keep me company, I'm the only worker. So it takes a lot longer than going into a place like a Quick Lube and having them, bing, bang, boom, and they say they're done, but they haven't touched any of the areas that you're seeing that I did on Paula's 401A. That's part of our copper sleeve for the motor brushes. That also needs to be optimized because it's part of the electrical field. Good gravy, what did I do? What did I do? I just crashed and burned there. That was spooky. All right, we're back. There's that copper sleeve again that holds the motor brush. All kinds of things have to be done to that, along with checking the tension tolerances on it, because it has to be snug enough to hold that motor brush in place so that it moves evenly up and down with the spring action, but it can't be so tight that it restricts the movement of that brush as it's consumed by the motor. Carbon motor brushes are consumed by the commutator as that motor runs, and the tension and the tolerances inside of that shaft have to be just spot on. Step by step. Look at that stuff. Also, when you get this sleeve back into position and you're moving it down towards the commutator, you got to make sure that it's at the right height. That's another factor that plays into it, and that it's orientated correctly. You want to have the opening facing out, so if you take those covers off, you can see straight away how much motor brush you have left. There we go. That's coming together nicely. Yep, that's looking really good. Those are our those are our covers for the motor brushes. Those also have to be cleaned. Otherwise, we're reintroducing dirt to a clean motor, which doesn't make any sense, right? Oh, is that looking? That is just plain sexy. Look at that. That is the way the inside of a motor should look, from the stators to the commutator to the stack lamentations. It's absolutely spot on. Nicely done. Nicely done. Getting that all cleaned up as well. And I think that's where we started, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. There's that intruder in the workshop again, whoever he is. And I'm looking over at the sew-offs that I have left to do. We're going to go back and do another sew-off. And then we're going to wrap up this last set of progress shots and bring this premiere to a conclusion. Lights back on. This is a dance song. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it. Yee! So again, just to remind you guys, wow. We could totally stop right here. Even Rachel's dancing, look at her. All right, I'll stop that. Beautiful stitching, isn't it? What an amazing machine. What an amazing machine. And apart from a great cause like the History Museum or supporting the Humane Society local here in Oconto, Wisconsin, or our next fundraiser, whatever it turns out to be, is the only occasion that I will give a machine like this away for a cause. Unless someone were local that was needy, couldn't afford to get a machine, I would help them out as well. Yeah, giving is better than receiving. Don't you agree? All right. Let's get this really cool stitch off holder out of the way. I'll go ahead and move this off and throw it to the back as a definite pass, along with all the other stitch offs that we have already done. And if you don't remember what stitch offs we've done already, there they are right there. I'll show them to you one by one. So this one we just got done doing. This is the Kona 100% cotton with the quilt batting in between, quilt batting, page 34 plus stitching. This again blows my mind. 2 layers of protected full grain leather. That is just off the charts as far as difficulty. Look at the thickness factor of that. Camera's not going to focus, but you can kind of see the outline of it. And we lay down this stitching on this protected full grain leather. Folks, it doesn't get any better than that. It's just, are you kidding me? Through 2 layers of protected full grain leather, lock stitch, top stitch is just absolutely as it should be. Amazing. Six layers of this crazy, ridiculous, stretchy denim stuff that we did as well. Laying down absolutely gorgeous stitching on this also. Exactly as it should be. Lock stitch and top stitch. No difference. No difference. Look at the thickness of that. Whoops, I almost dropped it. Look at the thickness of that. My hands are actually cold in the workshop today. I'm having trouble a little bit with my hands. It's like, oh, it's cold. Then we had this that we did on the live stream before this machine was officially introduced today at this premiere. All of that stitching as well. And all of you out there are ones that helped to pick these stitches. You remember that? You guys jumped into the live chat and I showed you the stitch options and you jumped in with your 2 letters and said, hey, do this one, do this one, do this one. And again, it's a little bit harder to see, but you can see it a lot better on this camera than you can on the webcam. The lock stitching is absolutely as it should be. Crazy, right? That's a single layer, but look at how spectacular that stitching is. That is our sew-off sandwich so far. And we got a little bit more that we're going to do during this premiere. A little bit more, not much. Unbelievable. Crazy, 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 crazy. Got bubblegum material. We haven't done that yet. We haven't done elk hide. commercial upholstery material. Although the commercial upholstery material is going to be a yellowish color, it's going to be really tough to see that stitching, I think. So I might forego that one. I think I'm going to do a little bit of elkite. Elkite, if you don't know, is chemically processed. It's about 5 ounces of leather. I'm way out there. Hold on a second. Elkite is chemically processed. It's about 5 ounces of leather, which is the equivalent of about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. So it's not an easy leather to get through. It's really quite challenging. You can see that from the side now as we've gotten much closer to the material. It's like sewing a man's belt. It's like sewing a man's belt, or a woman's belt for that matter. We got a lot of girls that ride motorcycles. They wear the thicker belts. Yeah, they do. Why shouldn't they? So we're going to be sewing through the equivalent of a man's belt. Get that into position. And again, if you're joining this a little bit late, the setup that we have today is a size 90-14 Schmetz universal needle. That's about a medium range, medium gauge type needle. Not the biggest, it's not a 110, it's not a 100, but it's just below that. And we've got Coates & Clark tri-lobal embroidery thread. Tri-lobal embroidery thread. So we're using embroidery thread with a fairly good size universal needle. Not the best setup, but it pushes the machine to perform even better because it's not an ideal setup, which is great because I want to test the machine, I want to push the machine. So we're going to do a straight stitch down, and then we'll probably lay down some other stitching next to it, okay? I'll pause the music for just a little bit. Pause that music for just a little bit and give you a chance to hear Paula's machine working with this chemically processed 100% elkite. One of the toughest leathers you can sew, quite honestly. It truly is. Because of that chemical processing that it goes through. It galvanizes the surface of this leather to make it even harder to pierce through. Especially with a needle that's starting to get a little bit tired now. And you know, we're still pushing it hard. And I'm going to remember to increase my presser foot pressure. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm giving it about 2 turns. Actually, I'm going to give it 1 more turn because we've got almost 5 ounces of leather with this single layer right here. Almost 5 ounces of leather. All right. And the way you can test to see if you've gone too far is I grab the presser foot lever and I give it a slight lift to feel how much pressure is against there. We've got more than enough presser foot pressure on there now. All right, let's give this a go. Here we go. Double check my setup. Okay, we should be good. All right, here we go. Wow, that was so difficult. Did you see the machine pause and struggle? Did you see it just groan and moan? No. Paula's 401A with that direct drive motor that peaks at 1 amp jumped into this sew off like, let's get her done. Let's get her done. And it laid down page, I'm already seeing it. It laid down page 34 lock stitching on the back. Turn my screen around. There we go. It laid down page 34 lock stitching on the back. Looking over my shoulder now. And it laid down page 34 stitching on the top stitch on the front of the leather as well. I'll show it to you afterwards. You'll be able to see it even more clearly. All right, so now we're going to lay down another stitch next to it. And I'm probably going to pick a decorative type stitch to buzz down. Just have to decide which one. While I'm deciding, I'm going to put some music on. So we just did BM, BR, IP. Now I'm going to grab some other stitch out of here. I think I'm going to do FM. FM. What else? I'm going to do HL. And I'm going to do, and those two stitches I just named, the FM and the HL, are going to be combination patterns. And now I'm going to pick, BO, BO as far as a primary pattern, BO, and those will be our 3 stitches that we'll sew this time. Okay, so now I'm going to set them. And you've already seen me set stitches several times. The brown one, you push in, it controls the left letter selection. The white one you pull out, and it controls the right letter selection. So we're going for FM. I'm going to adjust that right now. FM, there we go. So I just have to remember now to adjust my stitch length down. Give us better definition. And I'm not going to go crazy short, but I'm getting right around 20. I'm right around 20 stitches per inch. And this again is FM that we're going to be doing. FM. All right, let's see what we think. Here we go. Oh, that's cool. Isn't that cool? All right, let's do the next one, and then we'll look at all of these together. So the next one we're going to do is HL. HL. Let's give you a pre-glimpse of that. Spectacular. Oh, let's do the next one. So now, let's see, we just did FM, now we're going to do HL. So let me adjust that. There, we got it. HL. Okay, let's lay down this next stitch next to it. And again, I'm adjusting my take-up arm so that it's on the downstroke of the needle bar so that it gets better piercing, better penetration, and it doesn't have any drag holding it back. Okay? All right, here we go again. Oh, that's a fun one, isn't it? That's one of my all-time favorites. Can you see that in the shot? I think you can. That's kind of my building block one, isn't it? That's our lock stitch, or that's our top stitch rather. You kind of see it in the shot there. No difference on the lock stitch. You can kind of just get a pre-glimpse of that. Spectacular balance. And again, we're talking a single layer of elkite, but we're talking about 5 ounces of leather that's chemically processed. It galvanizes that leather just like protected full grain leather, it has a special coating on it to protect it from staining. Oh, here's our fun song. All right, here's our last stitch. We're going to do BO, so I'm going to adjust it. Again, I use the brown one to control the left selection. I pull the white one out to control the right selection, so I'm going to do that now. BO. All right, here we go. BO. Take up arm. We're all set there. All right, here we go. Our final stitch on this. Genuine elk hide. Here we go. We didn't have much room to work there, did we? Oh, that's fun. Look at that one. It almost looks like a stretch blind hem. And I've got the stitch length set down almost to the satin range, so it's teeny tiny. Teeny tiny. Oh, that's fun. Look at you. Dr. Singer, don't show your belly button. I know it's kind of a belly button dance song, but don't do that. Don't do that, Dr. Singer. Come on. Come on. All right, let's look at these right here, balanced against the needle bar. Let's check these out. So again, we just sewed FM, HL, BO. Let's see what we think of these. So totality of the stitching, we'll kind of look at that first. Hand off the camera. And I'm kind of eliminating the straight stitch below right now, but you can still see that one. Yeah, I won't eliminate it. We'll include everything. There we go. So on the bottom we have the straight stitch, obviously. Page 34 plus. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch is absolutely spot on. Again, we're sewing with embroidery thread, folks, and we're sewing it on genuine elk hide. That's a little crazy. The one just above it is going to be FM, and that also has great stitch definition, spot on. The one just above that, the second row down, is going to be HL, and then finally all the way on the top, it's kind of like the blind hem, stretch blind hem stitch, we've got BO. So now let's zoom in and look at those a little bit closer. We'll start at the top. Hold on a second, I'm getting glare off of that light. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Start over again. Look at the stitch integrity of that. It's absolutely spot on all the way across. Absolutely spectacular. Look at the edge of that. We're talking about 5 ounces of leather, folks. Absolutely amazing. Let's go down. Look at these next 2 rows. The joining parts in between those is so tiny. We'd almost have to increase it a little bit to make it visible. Look at that straight stitch. If you're like Roz and others that just love gorgeous straight stitching, there you go. And that's through leather, folks. Genuine elk hide. Totality of the stitching. Folks, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. Let's take a look at the lock stitching. Now Dr. Singer has Umi showing her belly button. Come on, you guys. We're going to get this video flagged. Hey, hey, hey. You guys behave back there. Yes, you too. Look at that innocent little look. Yeah, we know what you were doing. I told everybody what you were doing. Keep your belly button covered. Yeah. Yeah, you. All right, let's look at these lock stitching. This lock stitching. Top 2 rows. Folks, there's a nap on there. It masks the stitching a little bit because of the nap, but you're smart. You can see it. It's absolutely as it should be. Page 34 plus. No missed stitches, no skip stitches. Everything is just locked and loaded. Look at that. Including our straight stitching. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Look at that edge. That's a man's belt, you guys. Or a woman's belt. Like I said, totality of the stitching, exactly what we want to be seeing. Again, genuine elk hide, not an easy sew off at all. And you notice that this 401A from 1957, she's not out of breath. She's like, is that it? Are we done? Are we done? We almost are done. We almost are done, actually. All right, so this is an obvious pass. I'm going to throw that to the back. And again, our sew-off sandwich thus far is right here. Got to kind of flip the screen around so I can see what I'm seeing. All of that. Everything from this elk hide we just sewed to this stretchy genuine denim. 2 layers of protected full grain leather right there. This really cool Kona 100% cotton that Paula gave me with a quilt batting in between. And then all of this on that other live stream. All of that. Most people would agree that this machine is ready to go. I agree as well. But we're going to go look at a couple more progress shots, and then we might come back and do one last sew-off. When I say one last, I mean it might be one material with multiple sew-offs on it. You never know. You never know. Let's look at this last set. Here I'm concentrating on some of the electrical stuff. I've talked about the characteristics of electricity being like water, right? And that it can leak out. Almost like a CSI, it's like a bleed out or something like that. So I'm insulating all of those copper contacts now that the factory never ever insulated to make it better. Because we're constant and never ending improvement, right? Constant, never ending improvement. Now there are some more of the worm gears on the bottom of the machine. What do you think? Are they optimized? Are they ready to get the job done? Are they ready to go to work? No, they look like they've been in a car crash or something. Those are horrible, aren't they? How in heaven's name can they do their job when they're like that? They can't. They can't do their job when they're like that. There's just no way. Doing some more insulation on the wiring. There we go. And then I'm going to quick cure it using my torch eventually. Yeah, step by step. Getting that motor housing all clean and getting that motor back into place, getting it installed back in. And when you install the vertically mounted motor, you have to really, really make sure you do it right. Otherwise, that worm gear on top will bind against the metal sleeve that it slides through. Step by step. Look at how filthy they are, but we've gotten several layers off already. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the way we're supposed to be looking right there. Yes, sirree, Bob. Very, very nice. Very nice. We're not done yet, though. Because we're going to have to eventually put some grease on those. My special pink grease that will create a nice silky transition between those gears as they interlace. We don't want them slamming together like they are right now. More cleaning, getting all the bottom of the machine spick and span. Also several adjustments to make as well down there. A lot of fine tuning, a lot of optimization on these slant-o-matics. There we go, we're starting to make some progress, slow but sure. Look at this down here compared to up there. You can see straight away the contrast. Yeah, you can see that, looking at the screen. See? Look at the screen. There it is right there. And it's saying, I can't focus on that. I don't even know what it is. Making some adjustments now. More adjustments. Also verifying screws and bolts as well. I always assume that I'm going to find one loose, and 98% of the time I do. More adjustments. Starting to really come together, isn't it? Isn't it looking a lot different? So this is obviously a hospital scene. We have a number of folks that are in regular premieres and live streams that are healthcare workers, former healthcare workers. We have nurses, we have pharmacists, we have doctors, we have administrators, the whole shebang. And here we have a patient basically showing his crack from behind as he's talking about feeling naked without his hat on. So, and the nurse is giving him heck. You can see that. So, yeah, I like that one. That's cute. How does that look now? Think about how it looked before. Look at it now. It's not just the appearance. It's not just saying, oh yeah, it looks better. It looks clean. It's optimized now. And once I use my special pink grease, it's going to spin up and flow silky smooth so that motor in the back doesn't have to hardly work at all to turn the mechanics of the machine, where before it was like a runner trying to carry a 150-pound rucksack on their back and run a marathon. Good luck with that. Now it's going to glide and smooth and be silky. But even after it looks clean, I go over it again and I get more junk off of it. More junk. Now, oh wow, take a picture. Get your phone out right now. Get your phone out right now, because that's the way the gears should look, along with getting a little bit of grease on them. And there goes the grease. Again, never strip metal down to bare metal, and not, if it's going to be an interlacing gear, a miter gear, a worm gear, whatever you want to call it, you've got to cushion it, and that's what we're doing right now. Oh yeah, that is going to be one happy machine. Well, you saw that today in this premiere. Absolutely spot on. Yep, there we go. We're almost ready for the premiere. That's what these progress shots are, is they are stepping stones to get to this premiere. If we don't go through all these stepping stones, we can't make it to the premiere, and the machine can never graduate from the workshop and go to that owner to enjoy. More cleaning, more adjustments. Even areas that are out of view that no one would ever potentially see, I still go after it because I don't want that dirt to migrate. I don't want it to compromise the machine. Look at that. See what would have been left behind? No way, not coming out of the workshop. I think we may have gone full circle. Yeah, we did. We're back to the wiring again, I think. Oh, maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't. Maybe that was just a duplicate photo. Here we're looking at the oil absorption pan on the bottom of the machine, and that also requires cleaning as well. My handy dandy notebook and typewriter brush. More lubrication, more filth. And I only use rags so long, and then I throw them away, because otherwise they end up recontaminating the machine again. So they end up in the garbage can. Cleaning the bottom of that pan as well. Getting that back into place, and also adding a nice felt to it right there, you can see, so that it's not crushing metal into metal. It's got a little bit of a cushion. More cleaning. Every nook and cranny. even loosening up the light assembly and then taking the light assembly apart, cleaning all the parts of the light assembly so it has maximum light output. I think we've already seen all these. 98% sure. Oh yeah, we did. Well, I've got 2 more sets of progress photos I could have showed you, but what I'll do is I'll add those links. I'll add those links to this premiere, and then you can always visit those links that are on Facebook and check out those other groups of progress shots as well. And why would you do that? Because number one, it gives you an appreciation for the workshop difference. You know, why do people from around the world send their machines here? Why do people from around the world, like Heidi in Switzerland, and soon my friend Adam from the UK, that's sending a machine all the way to the workshop from the UK to have that machine optimized and serviced? It's because through those progress shots, it documents the evidence of the difference of the process that I take machines through. And you're not even seeing the entire process. That's the thing. You're seeing a portion of the process. And some of these machines will have literally hundreds of photos of progress shots, and there could be hundreds more that I don't document of additional things that I do to that machine. Are you getting the picture? It's why the workshop difference is so different. Not horribly insightful there, but a little bit. So, what else? We've already done protected full grain leather. I'm not going to sew any more of that. I'm likely to not sew this commercial upholstery material, not because the machine couldn't do it, but yellow thread on this, good luck with that. And then I've got some of this bubblegum material, which I'll probably do for kicks and giggles. But I'm going to cut it down a little bit because this is way, way, way too much. And this will be our last series of sew-offs, because I think we've more than have proven that this machine is ready to head to Florida to hang out with my dear friend Paula Noel. Oh, you know what I was going to do? Some of you don't know this, but to witness these last sew-offs, I'm going to bring our Canadian Mountie out. Not because this machine is Canadian. This machine was made in Anderson, South Carolina, but to bring our Canadian Mountie out because Paula's husband is originally from Canada. Yes, he is. So we're going to come right about to there, I think. Yeah, right about to there. And we'll let our Canadian Mountie witness these final sew-offs to acknowledge Paula's husband, who is French-Canadian. Yes, he is. I'm just going to have to move our friend probably. Let's see. Can I move him right there? Yeah, let's move him right there. That way I can still get to the controls and everything. You can still see him, right? Yeah, you can see him. Real quick wipe off our machine. I haven't done any of that. All right, so our final sew-offs on this bubblegum material, and if you're new to the channel and you're saying, why are you calling it a bubblegum material? Check this out. Kind of like that denim material that we just sewed earlier. This is incredibly stretchy, which makes it a tricky material to sew. It truly does. We're going to sew it anyway. Yeah, we are. We're going to start with a straight stitch, and then we'll lay down some other stitching on it. Not sure what yet. Okay, so to get a straight stitch, we have to set the left boundary on A, we have to set the right boundary on K. We change this side by pushing in the brown, we change the other side by pulling out the white. So let's try to do that now. We'll move our friend just a little bit further over. All right, so now we've set it for a straight stitch. AK if you didn't know that. Now you know. All right, here we go. I'm going to put my little clamp on again, I think, just to help me out. All right, straight stitch, here we go. Oh, I've got it set on the fine right now. Okay, we're gonna get a satin level stitch, and that's okay. Here we go. Oh, this is a cute stitch. And it is satin level. Holy mackerel, wait till you see this. Jiminy crickets. All right, and I'll change the stitch length. We'll do another straight stitch next to it. Regular length, 6 or 7 stitches per inch. Oh, that is cool. Didn't plan that, but that's okay. All right, repeat, rinse and repeat. All right, let's try that again. I was going to have our Canadian Mountie change it, but he looked like he was kind of preoccupied with being Canadian. All right, here we go. I should probably put my clamps back on just to be safe, shouldn't I? All right, here we go. Whoops, foot pedal, foot pedal. Oh, I see my problem. Can you see it? Look at where my take-up arm is right now. Did you notice how there was binding? That'll also cause bird nesting on the bottom of the material. We don't want that. All right, here we go again. Holy mackerel, like over-sewed there. All right, I think I can take these clamps off now. We've got enough stability on the material. I think we can get away with no clamps. Boy, what a contrast that is. Satin level stitch, more of a standard stitch. They just really stand out against each other, don't they? Okay, now let's lay down some other stitching on this. Not sure what yet. All right, so take our stitch length back down. Near satin, almost. And we'll see if we can pick out some more stitching that we haven't done yet. So we've done BM, BR, IP, FM, HL, BO. Pop that open, see what else we have we can grab for fun. How about JL? Let's do JL. Let's see, JL. Let's try JP. I didn't do JP yet, I don't think. And those are both combination patterns. Now let's pick a primary pattern. So I'm going to pick, I've already done BR, I've already done BM. I did not do BN like Nancy. I did not do BN in this premiere. I did it in the live stream. So we're going to do BN. Just double checking again. Yep, BN. All right, perfect. All right, brilliant. So now I've got to set it up for JL, JL. So I'm going to push this one in and go all the way down to J. And I'm going to pull this one out and go one up to L. Right now we're on K. There we go. That was easy.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was easy. That's actually the voice of the Mountie. Listen close and watch for his lips to move.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was easy. Thank you, Mountie. Okay, so here goes our next stitch. I'm going to go with one clamp in the middle, just I don't want to risk that stuff being naughty. All right, so JL if you want to try it on your machine. Let's get that take-up arm all the way up. And what I'm going to do now, since you've seen me do all my magic, you've seen the Mountie, he's gotten his camera time, he's happy. Now we're going to zoom into the needle so you can watch things up close a little bit more with all that needle swing. Thanks for helping out, my friend. Yeah. You kind of look like you need vitamin C or something. You're kind of looking orangey there, buddy. All right, whatever. Take a look at that straight stitch, y'all. I don't even have to show it to you. Either one of them. The satin level one or the more standardized. Page 34. How do you make it better? How do you make it better? You can't. Woo. All right, so let's try this stitch. Again, it's JL, 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 JL. All right, here we go. JL. Oh, aren't you pretty? Look at you. You see what we just sewed, y'all? You can see it, maybe I can't. Isn't that spectacular? That's JL. Write it down if you have a 401A and you've never tried it. JL is to die for. Look at that. Hello, you. Ooh. Isn't that something? And look, there's no difference on the back. Gorgeous lock stitch as well. Very, very nice. Very nice. Glad I picked that one. That's a fun one. Oh yeah, it is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this again is bubblegum material, folks. It's because of its stretchy factor, it is engineered to screw around with your stitching, to mess around. And it's failing terribly. It's failing. All right, let's do our next stitch. Our next stitch is going to be JP. We did JL, now we're going to do JP. So all I have to do is adjust the one on the right from L up to P. There we go. Let's do this next one. This is a fun song. All right, here we go. Yeah, I'll go without the clamps because we're getting really close to the needle bar. All right, here we go. Oh, look at you. Folks, that is, wow, wow. Ooh, I like that one a lot. That's JP, you guys, JP. JP, hello, you. Right, we have one more stitch to go. Bien. Like muy bien. You guys know what I mean. I'm trying my Spanish out and it's not going so well. All right. So now we're going to do bien after this, our final stitch. And if I didn't show you, look at the backing on this stuff. It's almost like an upholstery type backing on this stuff, because you can use it on furniture, right? All right, so let's change this to BN now. BN. Now we have to move this all the way down to N. There we go. All right, this is our final stitch, you guys. Final stitch, here we go. I'm going to pause the music. I want you to listen to Paula's machine run. All right, final stitch. All right, here we go. Oh, wow. I love them all. I'm going to set these up and let you guys see them close up. Aren't these spectacular? Absolutely spectacular. Wow. That's the one we just did. I'm not going to be able to set this up like that. See how it's curling? Because of that vinyl that's in this stuff. It just really messes with it. So we're going to go back to Paula's sew-off holder for this last presentation, and I'll move our Mountie over just a little bit further. So we just sewed JLJPBN. Now we're going to take a look at these. And, oh, and we also sewed a satin level straight stitch and a more standard straight stitch. And here's the problem, is this is not going to hold that down. See how it's kind of curling up on us? So I'm going to have to lean something. That's going to be too short. Maybe I can use my magnet. Magnet's going to be too slippery, I think. All right, what do we do here? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What we do is we slide it over a little bit more. And we'll try to grab it from the side with one of my clips. That. This other one right by our buddy here. And then this one with my clip in the bottom. There we go. Now we got her. Of course, we're going to have to do it again when we flip it for the lock stitch, but that's okay. And it's a little bit crooked, so just turn your head to the side. Just turn your head to the side, please. All right, let's take a look at these stitches. Which I can already tell you are you kidding me? We'll look at the first top two rows, the satin level straight stitch, and then the standard straight stitch. And again, folks, realize that this is a rubbery, stretchy, vinyl-based furniture covering material. That's a lot of words. And look at how this machine delivered on that stitching. If you don't consider that to be a page 34, maybe a page 34 plus, then you should probably go to the optometrist right away, because you're not safe to drive your car or operate farm equipment. That is gorgeous. Unbelievably gorgeous. Next row, these two. Oh, wow. Especially that one on the upper level. Unbelievable. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Just absolutely gorgeous. Let's drop down. That was kind of anticlimactic. We left that one stitch on the bottom all by itself. Let's do these two together again. Unbelievable. See what I'm saying by the backing on that? It's not, I mean, it's almost like a carpeting or something. Unbelievably beautiful, isn't it? Isn't that spectacular? Totality of the stitching, including the one on top that you like need a magnifying glass for. So again, looking at this stitching, I think that I consider this to be brag-worthy. I consider this to be brag-worthy without a doubt. So we've got our satin level straight stitch on the very top row. We've got our regular straight stitch, which is just Roz. If Roz is in this premiere, or Paula, or any of our other regulars, Emma, Michelle, Mindy, Joelle. I'm scanning my brain right now. I'm scanning my brain. Whoever I'm forgetting, please forgive me. So satin level straight stitch on top is spectacular. Our next stitch is like, are you kidding me? The stitch right after that is our JL, which I think is awesome. And then we've got our one that is just spectacular as far as the intricacy of it. The second one from the bottom. And that's our JP. And then finally on the bottom row, our last stitch off that we did is our BN. I've always loved the Spanish people, but I love them even more now because that's the perfect name for that stitch. It is breathtaking. It is BN. It is good. It's better than good. BN maybe isn't BN plus. It's BN plus. Yeah, it is. But folks, that is nuts how gorgeous those are. Now let me bring it out a little bit. I'll do all my work to take those clamps off with our little friends, and then we'll look at the lock stitch. Flip that over for the lock stitch. And because it's curling the other way now, it'll probably just stay without me putting the third clamp on. It's still puckered out a little bit. So we'll clamp it down. So totality of the stitching, this again is our lock stitch. And what we're sewing, if you're coming to the party late, what we're sewing on is this rubbery bubblegum material, I call it. And on the very top row, we laid down, hold on a second. The very top row, we laid down a satin level straight stitch. We're talking 20 plus stitches per inch, probably right around 25. And then just below it, we laid down more of a standard straight stitch, around 6 stitches per inch, which is absolutely, I mean, look at it. How do you make that better? Good luck. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's spectacular, isn't it? And then just below that, we've got the built-in stitch, which is JL, if you want to do it on your 401A. That's JL, the third one down from the top. And then the one just below it, which is really intricate, you know, really a high level of intricacy. It's almost, you almost can hardly see it unless we like zoom in. There you can see it now. But that one is JP. And then finally the last row on the bottom is BN. All of these stitches are brag-worthy. All of these stitches are you kidding me, spectacular. Kind of creeping in a little bit further. There we go. There we go. So this is a great way to wrap up this premiere, to showcase how much this machine has gone from a fairly rough state. And this is an original machine that came out of my collection that I evaluated when I bought it from the original owners. It's an original owner machine. But even original owner machines, if they sit around for a long time, they're going to need to go through a finalization process like in my workshop, where I go from bobbin the balance wheel, as you saw in just a portion of the progress shots, and just tear that machine down and make it better than when it left the factory in 1957. What do you think? Rocking cool? Do Canadians say rocking cool? I didn't know that. Cool. Nice. So to come out in this shot, we'll kind of look at this spectacular 1957 401A. Again, to revisit, as we do in a classroom, when did the 401A first come on the scene? Is Paula's a first edition? We've had other first editions. We've had last editions on this channel. Where does Paula's machine fall? When did the first 401A come on the scene? Type it in the chat right now, would you please? We'll see how well you were listening. And while you're doing that, I'm going to take that stitch off and move it over a little bit and show you all the other stitch offs again that we just did during this premiere and also the live stream. All of this right here. Again, just to remind you, we just did this bubblegum material, which is an absolute nightmare. Is that in the camera shot? I can't tell. Go around to the other side of the camera. Not really. There we go, now it is. Cool. All right, so we just did this bubblegum material, 2 layers of this. It's incredibly challenging. We did these 2 layers of protected full grain leather and laid down not just a basic straight stitch, but we laid down some very, very intricate decorative stitching. You can see that again right there. Folks, if you think that's easy, try it on your 401A. Try it on your 401A going through that much leather. Good luck. Seriously. I'm just being honest. That goes there. Then we did all of this also on protected full grain leather. This is a single layer, but look at all that we did on that live stream. And if you didn't see that live stream, you got to check it out. And if you've never thought of a Slant-O-Matic as a hardcore heavy duty, I can sew the pants off of practically anything and go through crazy heavy duty stuff and yet revert back and do light grade, there you go. This stretchy heavy grade denim, which is a nightmare to sew, and this 401A managed it beautifully. Look at the thickness of that. That's what 6 layers of that stuff looks like. This is the real deal, folks. When I test a machine before it graduates from the workshop, it's not window dressing, it's the real deal. Here's 100% elk hide, genuine elk hide. Look at the stitching we did on that. Look at the thickness of that from the side. Lock stitch, bang on. Unbelievable. And then finally, this, how cool is it to have this material that Paula sent me, this Kona 100% cotton, and actually be able to sew it for the very first time since she gave it to me with all the other Christmas goodies, to be able to sew it for the very first time on her machine. How fun is that? Look at that stuff. Folks, that is, are you kidding me, gorgeous stitching. Other side? Maybe I should do it right side up, huh? You already saw this when I showed it to you before from the other angle. I'm not even giving it justice right now. It's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So this now, I gotta turn it up. This is our sew-off sandwich. All right, I'm gonna get out of the way. Let you admire this machine with this Mountie, this Canadian Mountie, guarding this machine until it gets safe home in Florida to Paula Noel. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. God bless you. Watch for other premieres and live streams where I show you a machine that is unlike any machine else in the world. Again, don't go out and buy a 401A and say, it's going to do everything this guy did on Paula Noel's. Nope, it ain't. But you can reach out to me and I'll prepare one for you exclusively as I did for my dear friend Paula out in the great state of Florida. Paula, congratulations, my dear. She's coming home. Yeah, she is. In the meantime, we're going to dance. Oh! Mr. Bean, turn the flashlight on the Mountie. I think he's smiling. Maybe not. Mr. Bean, just hold it in one spot, would you? Mr. Bean! Lights off.